Chapter 23-21. Duan Lingtian. So what if you've successfully passed the heavenly tribulation and become an eminent celestial? You won't be able to escape death in front of Lord Patriarch. Huang Wenjing's eldest senior brother Yun Fuyi, the vice palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, sneered disdainfully as he looked at the five-colored sunglow that shrouded Duan Lingtian. In the face of the same situation, the two of them had completely different attitudes. Outside, everyone thought Duan Lingtian was going to die. Duan Lingtian, on the other hand, was immersed in the five-colored sunglow. He was in a peculiar state. At this moment, Duan Lingtian felt as though he was completely enveloped by something. However, he did not feel restrained at all. Instead, he felt extremely comfortable as though he had returned to his mother's womb. The tension he had felt since he returned to the Debussy subterranean finally disappeared at this moment. At the same time, he could clearly feel that a brand new energy had appeared in his body. A new kind of power vaguely appeared in Yang Kai's body, and as soon as this power appeared, the vast Saint Qi in his body suddenly retreated, as if it had encountered a god of plague. Apart from that, this energy gave Duan Lingtian a sense of intimacy as though it was part of his body. This feeling was similar to the feeling he got from the Saint Qi in his body. This is the celestial origin energy? At this moment, it was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to figure out what the energy in his body was. It must be the celestial origin energy that was born after he had successfully passed the heavenly tribulation and became an eminent celestial. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian looked into his body and discovered a purer and denser energy had appeared in his body. Although this force had only just been born, and only a small portion of it was present, it was still suppressing Yang Kai's Saint Qi in an invisible manner. This was due to the difference in strength. However, with just a thought, Duan Lingtian merged his Saint origin with his celestial origin energy. After all, they're both forces that I can control like my own arms. I can control them with ease. While Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy was still growing, it was really dangerous earlier. I was so close. Duan Lingtian could not help but recall the moment when the sun force that had transformed into the three-legged golden crow was crushed. At that time, he was so close to being killed by the last tribulation lightning of the celestial ascension tribulation. At the critical moment, the dragon energy that rushed out of his body blocked the last tribulation lightning of the celestial ascension tribulation. Following that, his spiritual energy also extracted the power from the one-eyed devil vulture's eye that was contained in the strange pupil, allowing it to fuse with the dragon energy and transform into a lifelike nine-clawed divine dragon. As soon as the dragon's tribulation lightning of the tribulation lightning of the celestial ascension tribulation was destroyed. It was a complete and utter suppression. However, after the nine-clawed divine dragon appeared and dispersed the last tribulation lightning of the celestial ascension tribulation, it disappeared along with the dragon energy and the energy from the one-eyed devil vulture's eyes. The dragon energy transformed into the nine-clawed divine dragon, and the energy from the one-eyed devil vulture's eyes transformed into the nine-clawed divine dragon's eyes. It's as though it gave life to the nine-clawed divine dragon. It's because of this that the nine-clawed divine dragon was able to unleash such a powerful force. Duan Lingtian could still remember the situation clearly. The dragon energy and the energy from the one-eyed devil vulture's eyes that left won't be able to return. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. The dragon energy is the foundation of my transformation into a nine-clawed dragon warrior. The energy from the one-eyed devil vulture's eyes is the foundation of my transformation into the strange pupil. In other words, from today onward, I'll lose the ability to transform into a nine-clawed dragon warrior and the strange pupil. This eye of mine seems to have returned to normal. It no longer has the ability of the strange pupil. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly when he thought about this. He did not expect he would lose two of his abilities during the heavenly tribulation. Not only did he lose the ability to transform into a nine-clawed dragon warrior, but he had also lost the strange pupil. However, there are gains and losses. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Although he had lost these two abilities, he had successfully passed the heavenly tribulation and was about to become an eminent celestial. Moreover, if they didn't leave, I wouldn't have been able to pass the heavenly tribulation. I would have died. All in all, although there were gains and losses, the gains outweighed the losses. Forget it. I'll just let them be. In any case, I didn't lose out this time. Duan Lingtian was an open-minded person. Since he was certain the dragon energy and the strange pupil would not return, he did not waste any more time on this matter. Instead, he shifted his attention back to the celestial origin energy in his body. Now that I've developed the celestial origin energy in my body, this means I can use the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to increase my strength. As long as I become an eminent celestial, I won't have to fear any eminent celestials with the help of the elementary devouring tactic. With this thought in mind, Duan Lingtian felt a surge of confidence in his assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, that he had mastered. However, the celestial origin energy is indeed above the Devata realms. Saint origin can't compare to it at all. Moreover, this is only a portion of my strength that has been converted into celestial origin energy. If all of my strength has been converted into celestial origin energy, how strong will my strength be? If all of my strength has been converted into celestial origin energy, I'm already a celestial, right? Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian was completely immersed in exploring the celestial origin energy in his body. However, apart from discovering how powerful the celestial origin energy was, he did not discover anything else. Gradually, Duan Lingtian stopped exploring the celestial origin energy. Instead, he recalled the scene when he was faced with the last bolt of lightning from the celestial ascension tribulation. I remember when I used the Supreme Sword Tao mental cultivation method, the Sovereign Heart Sword, to wield my sword. I vaguely felt something when I faced the pressure of the last bolt of lightning from the celestial ascension tribulation. At that moment, I even had a strong feeling that the fourth realm of the Sovereign Heart Sword, Clear Sword Heart, was just a stone's throw away from me. It was within my reach. I don't know if I can still find that feeling now and find what I vaguely captured back then. Duan Lingtian had long comprehended the third stage of the Supreme Sword Tao mental cultivation method, the Sovereign Heart Sword. He only needed an opportunity to successfully comprehend the fourth stage, the Brilliant Sword Tao mental cultivation method, the Sovereign Heart Sword. Previously, when he faced the pressure of the last bolt of lightning from the celestial ascension tribulation, he seemed to have vaguely grasped the opportunity, but he did not have the time to grasp it. This was because he was in a life-or-death situation at that time. He did not have the time to grasp the opportunity to comprehend the fourth stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the Brilliant Sword Heart. Since I have nothing to do now, I'll try again to see if I can find that opportunity again. If I can, my Supreme Sword Tao mental cultivation method, the Sovereign Heart Sword, will improve, and my overall strength will increase by leaps and bounds. The fourth stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the Brilliant Sword Heart, will grant me much more powerful sword techniques than the third stage, the Sword Tao mental cultivation method. When Duan Lingtian thought about this, he no longer hesitated and began to comprehend the Supreme Sword Tao mental cultivation method, the Sovereign Heart Sword. Duan Lingtian completely lost track of time as he immersed himself in the Sovereign Heart Sword. After an unknown amount of time, Duan Lingtian only regained his senses when he felt the energy in his body suddenly surge. At the same time, he instinctively opened his eyes that were tightly shut. It's over? At this moment, Duan Lingtian discovered the five-colored sunglow that shrouded him no longer helped him generate his celestial origin energy. The celestial origin energy in his body had perfectly merged with his saint origin and was now a part of his body. He could use it to absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy to generate his celestial origin energy at any time. At the same time, Duan Lingtian discovered the five-colored sunglow no longer shrouded him, allowing him to move his limbs freely. This is, when Duan Lingtian opened his eyes and discovered he had regained control of his limbs, boom, boom. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the five-colored sunglow that shrouded Duan Lingtian and the five-colored sunglow that shrouded Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, suddenly expanded. Then they seemed to have transformed into two five-colored pillars that supported the sky, and shot straight to the sky. It was so majestic that it seemed to shake the heavens and earth. At this moment, not only the people in the Wandering Saint Palace's estate, but even the people outside the Wandering Saint Palace's estate and the people in the Human Devil Saint City could clearly see the two five-colored pillars that shot up into the sky from the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Two five-colored light pillars shot up into the sky, reaching the sky above and the ground below. The five-colored light continued to expand, giving people a strong visual impact. This seems like a scene that would only appear when an eminent celestial is born. There was no lack of knowledgeable people in the Human Devil Saint City. They quickly confirmed the meaning of the two five-colored pillars of light. The birth of an eminent celestial. Isn't there only one pillar of five-colored sunglow? Why are there two pillars? Moreover, both of them shot up into the sky from the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Don't tell me there are two eminent celestials in the Wandering Saint Palace? Two eminent celestials? How's that possible? But how do you explain the two pillars of five-colored sunglow? Apart from the palace masters of the Wandering Saint Palace and Great Spirit Palace, there were 9 great forces in the human devil clan. Chapter 23-22. The 7 leaders of the 1 palace and 6 halls were already panicking when they learned that Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, was about to become an eminent celestial. They did not expect that a few days later 2 pillars of 5-colored light would rise from the Wandering Saint Palace's estate and shoot into the sky. Naturally, they knew what this meant. There were 2 people who had become eminent celestials in the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Could it be that Nan Feng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, has also attracted the celestial ascension tribulation and passed it successfully? They could not help but think to themselves. In the end, they could no longer suppress their curiosity. They left their respective forces and flew toward the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Lord Palace Master. Lord Hall Master. The arrival of the leaders of the 1 palace and 6 halls naturally attracted the attention of the high-ranking officials of the 1 palace and 6 halls. Vice Hall Master Gongsun, what's going on? Isn't Palace Master Yuan the only one undergoing the celestial ascension tribulation? Why would the heaven and earth phenomenon of 2 eminent celestials appear? The Hall Master of Azure Sheen Hall, a middle-aged man dressed like a scholar, asked in a deep voice as he looked at Gongsun Jin, the Vice Hall Master of Azure Sheen Hall. Lord Hall Master. Shouldn't we wait until you've spoken to Lord Clan Leader first? Gongsun Jin asked the Hall Master of Azure Sheen Hall as he looked in the direction of the Patriarch of the Human Devil Clan. Lord Patriarch. The Hall Master of Azure Sheen Hall was shocked when he heard Gongsun Jin's words. He followed Gongsun Jin's gaze and saw the Patriarch of the Human Devil Clan in an inconspicuous corner. Lord Patriarch. At this moment, the Azure Cloud Hall Master no longer cared about the heaven and earth phenomenon of the birth of 2 eminent celestials. He immediately flew toward the Patriarch of the Human Devil Clan and bowed respectfully. Lord Patriarch. The leaders of the 1 palace and 5 halls were shocked when they heard the Patriarch of the Human Devil Clan was here. They quickly followed behind the Hall Master of Azure Sheen Hall and bowed to the Patriarch of the Human Devil Clan. Yes. The Patriarch of the Human Devil Clan glanced at the leaders of the 1 palace and 6 halls, then ignored them. When his gaze shifted back to one of the 5-colored light pillars that shot up into the sky in the distance, he was no longer indifferent. Instead, it was replaced by a cold light that was as sharp as a blade. Who is the person who became an eminent celestial in this 5-colored light pillar? Why is Lord Patriarch so hostile towards him? The leaders of the 1 palace and 6 halls returned to their subordinates with doubts. Soon after, they learned from their subordinates who the Patriarch of the Human Devil Clan was hostile to. He was the young mansion master of the human force, Azure Cloud Mansion, Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian? The young mansion master of a human force, Azure Cloud Mansion? He has also become an eminent celestial? When Palace Master Yuan attracted the celestial ascension tribulation, he took advantage of the situation and attracted his own celestial ascension tribulation as well. In the history of our demon race, it seems that no one has ever succeeded in transcending the tribulation under such circumstances, right? This Duanling Tian actually broke the history of our demon race. After learning about this matter, the leaders of the 1 palace and 6 halls who had just arrived were shocked. Why didn't you inform me? Following that, they began to interrogate the people below. Lord Palace Master, initially I thought it was impossible for Duanling Tian to pass the celestial ascension tribulation, so there was no need for me to inform you about this. I didn't expect him to have so many tricks up his sleeve and successfully pass the celestial ascension tribulation at the last minute. Wu Tianjin, the Vice Palace Master of Crimson Blaze Palace, said to the Palace Master of Crimson Blaze Palace with a wry smile on his face. The other Vice Palace Masters of the other 6 halls also said the same thing to their respective Palace Masters. Forget it. It's a good thing we made it in time. Otherwise we would have missed a good show. The leaders of the 1 palace and 6 halls did not make things difficult for their subordinates. Soon after, their gazes shifted to the light pillar formed by the 5-colored sunglow that shrouded Duanling Tian just like everyone else present on the scene. Even if Duanling Tian has become an eminent celestial, he's still not a match for Lord Patriarch. The leaders of the 1 palace and 6 halls who had just arrived felt the same way. Once the 5-colored light disappeared, Duanling Tian would definitely die. The 5-colored light is announcing the birth of an eminent celestial to the people in the surroundings. Duanling Tian was not surprised by the sudden change in the 5-colored light. After all, he had learned about the celestial ascension tribulation before, so he knew this would happen after one had passed the celestial ascension tribulation. The 5-colored light won't last for long. Once it disappears, the patriarch of the human devil clan will definitely attack me. Duan Lingtian was well aware of this. For a moment, his expression became extremely solemn. Since the five-colored light is still here and the patriarch of the human devil clan doesn't dare to attack, I'll cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to strengthen the celestial origin energy in my body. As soon as Duan Lingtian thought to himself, he made his move. Elementary devouring tactic. As soon as Duan Lingtian cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, a whirlpool appeared in front of him. In the void, with his body as the center, a rapidly twisting vortex appeared, extending a powerful suction force in all directions. During this process, the five-colored light pillar that enveloped him was not affected in the slightest. However, the heaven and earth spiritual energy in this area was being continuously sucked in by the rapidly twisting whirlpool. The whirlpool continued to devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings at an alarming rate. What a fast devouring speed! At this moment, Duan Lingtian discovered the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings. Duan Lingtian's divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, had increased his speed of devouring the heaven and earth spirit energy. In just a blink of an eye, he had devoured all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the vicinity of the Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace. Following that, Duan Lingtian discovered the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings. After devouring all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the vicinity of the Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace, Duan Lingtian's speed of devouring the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings was still the same. In just a blink of an eye, more than half of the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Wandering Saint Palace's estate had been devoured by Duan Lingtian. It's as though there's no distance restriction. When Duan Lingtian discovered this, he could not help but feel shocked. In the past, when he cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, he could only devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings for half a breath. It would take him a long time to devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings. At that time, he preferred to devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in one place before moving to another place. However, now, he had devoured all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Wandering Saint Palace's estate in half a breath. Moreover, the speed of devouring the heaven and earth spirit energy is not affected by the distance. Duan Lingtian was shocked to discover the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings. After devouring all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Wandering Saint Palace's estate, his assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, did not slow down in the slightest. Something's not right. It seems like the speed of devouring the heaven and earth spirit energy has increased. It seems like my assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, has become more powerful after the celestial origin energy in my body has been strengthened. After a breath, Duan Lingtian discovered the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings was not affected at all. Not only did the elementary devouring technique not slow down, it even sped up the rate at which it absorbed the heaven and earth spirit energy. All of this was due to the celestial origin energy in his body. The stronger his celestial origin energy was, the more powerful the elementary devouring tactic would become. The stronger the elementary devouring tactic was, the more heaven and earth spirit energy he could devour. Moreover, the faster the elementary devouring tactic was, the stronger his celestial origin energy would become. It was a virtuous cycle. It seems like the elementary devouring tactic has reached its limit. After Duan Lingtian finished devouring all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city, the elementary devouring tactic finally stopped. Naturally, it was only the elementary devouring tactic that had reached its limit. On the other hand, Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy had not reached its limit. There was still a lot of room for improvement. However, since the elementary devouring tactic had reached its limit, it could no longer be improved. However, with the celestial origin energy in my body, it should be more than enough to deal with the patriarch of the human devil clan. Duan Lingtian was filled with confidence when he looked at the celestial origin energy in his body. Previously, Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy was like a small stream. However, now that Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy was like a huge river, it was like a huge river. They could not be compared at all. 3 breaths. In just 3 breaths, my elementary devouring tactic has reached its limit in devouring the heaven and earth spirit energy. Moreover, this is only because I haven't fully unleashed my heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil holy city. If I had unleashed my heaven and earth spirit energy, I would have been able to reach the limit of the elementary devouring technique in just 2 breaths. When Duan Ling Tian sensed the vast celestial origin energy in his body, he felt as though his entire body was filled with explosive energy. It was as though he could tear apart the void and destroy everything with just a wave of his hand. Why did the heaven and earth spirit energy suddenly become so thin? After Duan Ling Tian devoured all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city, the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls who were present on the scene discovered the heaven and earth spirit energy had become extremely thin. Why did the heaven and earth spirit energy suddenly disappear? It seems like the heaven and earth spirit energy has completely disappeared. Although it has recovered, it's very slow. How can one cultivate with such thin heaven and earth spirit energy? What's going on? Chapter 23-23. The human devil saint city occupied a huge area. Currently, all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city had been devoured by Duan Ling Tian. The heaven and earth spirit qi in such a huge city had been swallowed up, which naturally caused a great sensation in the holy city of humans and demons. Especially those who had been in seclusion cultivation, the impact on them was the greatest. Many people who were about to have a breakthrough in their cultivation base were interrupted. They did not know when they would be able to find another opportunity to break through again. Naturally, Duan Ling Tian was unaware of the commotion he had caused in the human devil saint city when he cast the elementary devouring tactic on the people in the human devil saint city. Of course, even if he knew about it, he wouldn't feel anything, let alone feel guilty. After all, everyone in the human devil saint city was a human devil. They belonged to the devil clans. They were the natural enemies of humans. Wait a minute. In the wandering Saint Palace's estate, Duan Ling Tian frowned as he thought of something when the 5-colored sunglow was about to disappear. Logically speaking, even if I devoured all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city, it shouldn't be able to raise my celestial origin energy to this extent. After all, this is the Wuxia subterranean and not the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. The celestial origin energy was a force that was superior to all the other forces in the mundane realms. Logically speaking, it should not be enough to raise his celestial origin energy to this extent in the Wuxia subterranean. After all, the celestial origin energy was akin to transforming a small stream into a large river. Could it be? At this critical moment, Duan Ling Tian suddenly thought of something. He extended his divine consciousness at lightning speed to the center of the human devil saint city. It was as though he had just recalled something. He quickly extended his divine consciousness to the center of the human devil saint city at lightning speed. As expected. Soon after, Duan Ling Tian's heart skipped a beat when he realized what he had thought was true. I actually devoured all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Saint Stone Reserve that belonged to the Azure Cloud Mansion. Such a huge Saint Stone mine. But now it has turned into a pile of useless rocks. Duan Ling Tian finally understood why the celestial origin energy was so strong. He had only devoured the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city, but it had raised his celestial origin energy to such an extent. As it turned out, when he devoured the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city, he had also devoured the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Saint Stone Reserve underground. That Saint Stone Reserve originally belonged to our Azure Cloud Mansion. In the entire upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, only the Saint Stone Reserve in the Mountain Shade Black Market is comparable to it. However, I've only cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, and I've completely devoured the heaven and earth spirit energy that had been accumulated in it for many years. Duan Ling Tian's Saint Stone Reserve's heaven and earth saint cities. When Duan Ling Tian thought of this, he finally understood why his celestial origin energy had increased so much. As it turned out, not only had he devoured all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city, but he had also devoured all the heaven and earth spirit energy in the Saint Stone Reserve underground. What's going on? What's going on? Why did the heaven and earth spirit energy suddenly become so thin? Could it be because of the heaven and earth phenomenon caused by the birth of an eminent celestial? No. I've never heard of a heaven and earth phenomenon that would cause the heaven and earth spirit energy to become so thin. Perhaps the heaven and earth phenomenon caused by the birth of 2 eminent celestials caused the heaven and earth spirit energy to become so thin? After all, the birth of 2 eminent celestials at the same time is something that has never happened in the history of the devil clans. If that's the case, we can be considered to have witnessed history. That must be the reason. Many people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls discussed among themselves as they watched the 2 pillars of 5-colored sunglow that shrouded Duan Ling Tian and Yuan Haochen. At this moment, they discovered the heaven and earth spirit energy in the air had become very thin. Is he casting an assist-type divine ability? Of course, there were still many people who were staring at the gradually fading five-colored sunglow light pillar that shrouded Duanling Tian. Earlier they could clearly sense the heaven and earth spirit energy in the five-colored sunglow. The heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings was surging into the pillar of five-colored sunglow at an extremely fast speed. These people were led by the patriarch of the Human Devil clan and the leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls, including Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace. Xing Yuanba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, could also vaguely sense this. It seems like he knew I'd make a move after the five-colored sunglow disappeared, so he prepared in advance. The patriarch of the Human Devil clan sneered. The others had similar thoughts as well. So what if he prepared in advance? He won't be able to escape death in the end. Even if Lord Patriarch gives him 10 to 15 days to prepare, he still won't be able to survive. The leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls sneered as well. Whoosh, whoosh. A moment later, as if 2 gusts of wind had blown past, the 2 five-colored light pillars that soared into the sky gradually faded before finally disappearing completely. After the 2 pillars of five-colored sunglow disappeared, 2 figures appeared before everyone's eyes. They were none other than Duanling Tian and Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace. Duanling Tian. As soon as the five-colored sunglow disappeared, Yuan Haochen looked at Duanling Tian fiercely. At the same time, his celestial origin energy and saint origin surged out of his body. It was as though he had transformed into a primordial beast that was about to devour Duanling Tian. However, Duanling Tian ignored Yuan Haochen's fierce gaze. He did not even look at Yuan Haochen. After the five-colored sunglow disappeared, Duanling Tian turned to look at the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. Duanling Tian, you prepared in advance by casting an assist-type divine ability to increase your strength. Do you think you'll be able to defeat me after casting an assist-type divine ability? The patriarch of the Human Devil clan asked with a sneer as he stared at Duanling Tian fiercely. Previously, when he found out Duanling Tian was a 9-clawed dragon warrior, he was slightly fearful of Duanling Tian, who had become an eminent celestial. However, now that he knew Duanling Tian would not be able to transform into a 9-clawed dragon warrior, he no longer had any qualms. Assist-type divine ability? Did he not have one? Defeat you? Duanling Tian smiled indifferently when he heard the patriarch of the Human Devil clan's question. Then he raised his hand and made a grabbing motion in the air. Swoosh, swoosh. It was accompanied by a short-lived ear-piercing sound of breaking through the air. As soon as Duanling Tian made a grabbing motion in the air, a wave of energy that emitted a terrifying aura swept out. It was as fast as lightning. Before the patriarch of the Human Devil clan could react, Duanling Tian had already grabbed a person and dragged him in front of him. The patriarch of the Human Devil clan only regained his senses when the person Duanling Tian had dragged him in front of him. His expression changed drastically. This, Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, also regained his senses. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. From the beginning until the end, he did not even see how Duanling Tian had moved. In just a blink of an eye, Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, had been captured by Duanling Tian. It was as though an eagle had captured a chick. After the patriarch of the Human Devil clan and Yuan Haochen regained their senses, the others began to regain their senses as well. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. When they saw Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, kneeling in front of Duanling Tian and struggling to get up, their expressions changed immediately. Fear and disbelief could be seen on their faces. Most of them looked as though they had seen a ghost. Naturally, Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, was in the worst mood among all the people present on the scene. Earlier, when Duanling Tian made a grabbing motion in the air, Shi Nanfeng did not even have time to react before he discovered an invincible force had shrouded him. It suppressed his saint origin and dragged him away. Throughout the entire process, he did not even have the strength to fight back. When he regained his senses, he discovered he had been brought to another place. Moreover, he was forced to kneel on the ground by the invincible force. The person standing in front of him was Duanling Tian, the young mansion master of Azure Cloud Mansion, whom he wished he could kill as soon as possible. Shi Nanfeng's eyes widened in anger. He gritted his teeth and tried his best to stand up. However, he discovered he could not mobilize his saint origin at all under the suppression of the invincible force. How's this possible? No matter how powerful an eminent celestial is, it's impossible for him to suppress me like this. At this moment, other than shock, there was only fear in Shi Nanfeng's heart. He was terrified of Duan Lingtian's current strength. After Duan Lingtian became an eminent celestial, his strength was far beyond that of an eminent celestial. What's going on? Is that really Palace Master Shi from Great Spirit Palace? Heavens, Duan Lingtian is so powerful. Is this the strength of an eminent celestial? Impossible. Although eminent celestials are powerful, they're not this powerful. Palace Master Shi from Great Spirit Palace is a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage who has comprehended heaven and earth to the limit. No matter how powerful an eminent celestial is, it's impossible for them to humiliate him like this. The people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls discussed among themselves. Their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. Duan Lingtian was the Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, one of the 9 strongest forces in the Human Devil clan. Chapter 23-24. If the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls did not see it with their own eyes, they would not have believed such a ridiculous thing would happen even if they were beaten to death. Shi Nanfeng, the Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, was kneeling in front of a human. He was as docile as a dog. Most importantly, this human was the son of his enemy. He wanted nothing more than to kill him as soon as possible. Lord Palace Master. The high-ranking officials of Great Spirit Palace, led by Xing Yuanba, the Vice Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, felt humiliated when they saw their Palace Master, Shi Nanfeng, kneeling in front of Duan Lingtian. After all, the person kneeling in front of the human was the soul of Great Spirit Palace. He was the leader of Great Spirit Palace. At this moment, they could see that Duan Lingtian was not willing to kneel in front of them. It wasn't that their palace lord wanted to kneel in front of that human, but that human forced their palace lord to kneel, causing their palace lord to be unable to get up. Lord Patriarch, please uphold justice for our Lord Palace Master. Xing Yuanba quickly shifted his gaze to the Patriarch of the Human Devil clan and kneeled in front of him. Lord Patriarch, please uphold justice for our Lord Palace Master. The other high-ranking officials of Great Spirit Palace followed Xing Yuanba and kneeled in front of the Patriarch of the Human Devil clan. They wanted the Patriarch of the Human Devil clan to uphold justice for their Palace Master. The Patriarch of the Human Devil clan could not help but frown when he saw the high-ranking officials of the Great Spirit Palace acting in such a manner. However, the Patriarch of the Human Devil clan did not act rashly and attack Duan Lingtian. Even I wouldn't be able to force Shi Nanfeng to kneel in front of me. After Duan Lingtian became an eminent celestial and cast his assist-type divine ability, he became so strong? At this time, the Patriarch's heart was set off waves of tempestuous waves. Master might be able to force Shi Nanfeng to do this, but he's a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial. He's stronger than eminent celestials. The moment the Patriarch of the Human Devil clan thought to himself, based on the current situation, does this mean that Duan Lingtian, who has just become an eminent celestial, possessed strength comparable to a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial after casting his assist-type divine ability? When the Patriarch of the Human Devil clan thought of this, he could no longer maintain his composure. He immediately contacted the gray-clad old man who was hidden in the clouds. This gray-clad old man was his master, a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial. Very few people know that, if a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage reacted in time and was lucky enough to escape from the Celestial Ascension tribulation, he could escape using the cicada shedding technique. He had mastered the soul detaching technique when he had broken through to the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. When he was at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, the soul detaching technique would be as easy as controlling an arm. For this reason, a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage who had failed the heavenly tribulation might not necessarily die. It was also possible for a powerhouse to escape using the soul detaching technique and live independently in heaven and earth. Naturally, the soul of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage who had failed the heavenly tribulation might be able to escape, but heaven and earth would place a mark on his soul so he would not be able to possess another's body. Heaven and earth had other rules to restrict this type of soul. If a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage who had failed the heavenly tribulation managed to escape, he would only be able to exist in the form of a soul. Moreover, his strength would be reduced to the peak of the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. 1,000 years after failing the heavenly tribulation, heaven and earth would send the first bodiless celestial tribulation to the soul of a powerhouse who had failed the heavenly tribulation 1,000 years ago. If one soul managed to pass the heavenly tribulation, one would possess the body of a 1-tribulation bodiless celestial. A one tribulation bodiless celestial strength was comparable to an ordinary powerhouse at the ninth form of the saint celestial stage. Most importantly, a one tribulation bodiless celestial could cultivate as well. 1,000 years after becoming a one tribulation bodiless celestial, heaven and earth would send the second bodiless celestial tribulation. The second bodiless celestial tribulation was much more powerful than the first bodiless celestial tribulation. If one failed the bodiless celestial tribulation, one's soul would be destroyed. If one succeeded, one would become a two tribulation bodiless celestial. A two tribulation bodiless celestial strength was comparable to an eminent celestial. After another 1,000 years, the third bodiless celestial tribulation would come. If one succeeded, one would become a three tribulation bodiless celestial. A three tribulation bodiless celestial was stronger than an eminent celestial. In fact, they were comparable to some low-level celestials in the Devata realms. Such an existence would naturally be an extremely terrifying existence in the mundane plane. The patriarch of the human devil clan's master, the gray-clad old man, was a three tribulation bodiless celestial. Master? However, when the patriarch of the human devil clan tried to contact his master, he discovered that his master did not respond. Although his master was still there, he seemed to be in a daze at this moment. He did not know what his master was thinking, but he had ignored his master's voice transmission. The patriarch of the human devil clan could only worry about this. The people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls were shocked when they saw Shernanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, kneeling in front of Duan Ling Tian, the young mansion master of Azure Cloud Mansion. However, there were a few people who were overjoyed. Brother Tian. When Kerr saw Duan Ling Tian had successfully passed the Celestial Ascension Tribulation and became an eminent celestial, a bright smile appeared on her beautiful face. 2 streams of tears of joy rolled down her cheeks. Her man had successfully passed the heavenly tribulation and become an eminent celestial. At this moment, Ku Er's heart that had been hanging in the air finally relaxed. Father is so amazing. Duan Xiling's eyes shone brightly when she saw Duan Ling Tian forcing Shernanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, to kneel in front of him. She was more excited than anyone else. His strength has actually reached such a level? Although Gan Ruyen knew Duan Ling Tian would be able to turn the situation around after he became an eminent celestial, she did not expect Duan Ling Tian would be able to turn the situation around. The palace master of Great Spirit Palace was a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage who had comprehended heaven and earth to its limit. Such an existence was actually suppressed by Duan Ling Tian to the point of not being able to fight back at all. Was this not too much? Master. Peng Lai, who was standing nearby, was dumbfounded by the scene before him. Although he knew Duan Ling Tian was about to become an eminent celestial, he did not think his master would be able to escape from the patriarch of the human devil clan. As a member of the human devil clan, in his opinion, the patriarch of the human devil clan was invincible. However, he did not expect Duan Ling Tian to be so strong. When his master had become an eminent celestial, he had only waved his hand and captured Shernanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, in front of him. He had forced Shernanfeng to kneel on the ground and was unable to get up for a long time. As an elder of the Wandering Saint Palace, he knew very well how strong Shernanfeng was. Even if Lord Patriarch personally made a move, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to suppress Shernanfeng to this extent. How did Master do it? At this moment, Peng Lai's heart was filled with shock. Although he had always hoped that his master would be able to create one miracle after another, turning danger into safety and allowing him to survive. However, he had never thought that such an exaggerated miracle would appear. This was completely beyond the scope of his understanding. Huang Wenjing's beautiful eyes shone brightly as she looked at the purple-clad young man standing in the distance. Of course, on her frosty face, there was also an expression of shock that was difficult to conceal. After all, when Duan Ling Tian and her master Yuan Haochen had appeared, she had already sent a voice transmission to her master to plead with the patriarch of the human devil clan to save Duan Ling Tian's life. Although she felt her chances were slim, she still decided to give it a try. However, before she could even open her mouth, Duan Ling Tian had already made his move without warning. Moreover, as soon as he made his move, he grabbed Shernanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, like an eagle catching a chick. He forced Shernanfeng to kneel on the ground, unable to get up for a long time. He was toying with Shernanfeng. At this moment, Huang Wenjing's emotions were complicated. She was shocked by Duan Ling Tian's strength, but at the same time she was excited about Duan Ling Tian's strength. Based on Lord Patriarch's reaction, It seems like he's afraid of him. It seems like he's going to pass this test. Huang Wenjing observed the patriarch of the Human Devil clan and quickly noticed the grave expression on the patriarch of the Human Devil clan's face. Moreover, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan did not make a move for a long time. He even watched as Shi Feng was suppressed without saying a word. It was not difficult for her to figure out what was going on. Shi Feng, Palace Master of the Great Spirit Palace. Under the watchful eyes of the others, Duan Lingtian calmly looked at Shi Feng, the Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, who was kneeling in front of him and struggling with all his might. I heard that you have enmity with my Azure Cloud Mansion? Moreover, did you come to the Wandering Saint Palace to kill me? However, Shi Feng didn't pay attention to Duan Lingtian's reply, and he continued struggling on the spot. Humph! Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes when he saw this and he snorted. Almost as soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Shi Feng's body suddenly trembled and then stiffened. His eyes were wide open as he fell straight down from the sky. During this process, Shi Feng's storage ring was also pulled away from his hand by an invisible force and into Duan Lingtian's hand. Boom! The sound of Duan Lingtian's corpse falling to the ground rang in the air. It was particularly loud and ear-piercing in the air. Chapter 23-25. The group of people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls could only watch as Shi Feng, the Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, breathed his last and died with their eyes wide open. However, none of them saw how Shi Feng died. Even the patriarch of the Human Devil clan did not see how Shi Feng died. However, there was one thing they were certain of. They were certain Shi Feng was killed by Duan Lingtian, Lord Palace Master. The high-ranking officials of Great Spirit Palace, led by Xing Yuanba, the Vice Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, were filled with grief and indignation when they saw their Palace Master being killed. Some of them looked at Shi Feng's corpse with a sorrowful expression while others glared at Duan Lingtian furiously. However, the high-ranking officials of Great Spirit Palace who were glaring at Duan Lingtian could only vent their anger by glaring at Duan Lingtian's corpse. What else could they do other than that? They could not possibly charge forward and confront Duan Lingtian. Although they were enraged, they had not lost their last shred of rationality. He killed him just like that? The people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls looked at Duan Lingtian in horror after they regained their senses. They were terrified of this human powerhouse who had killed Shi Feng, the Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, with just a wave of his hand. After all, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was present as well. However, Duan Lingtian had completely disregarded the patriarch of the Human Devil clan and killed Shi Feng, the Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, with just a wave of his hand. Naturally, most of them had also realized that Duan Lingtian was not weak at all. Based on the strength Duan Lingtian had displayed, he was not inferior to the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. In fact, he might even be stronger. Moreover, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan had also realized this. Otherwise, why would he not make a move against Duan Lingtian and watch as Duan Lingtian killed the powerhouses of the Human Devil clan? How is this possible? How can he be so strong? Yun Fuyi, the Vice Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace, who was standing next to Huang Wenjing, looked at Duan Lingtian in disbelief. Until now, he still couldn't believe that everything in front of him was real. Patriarch Yang. All of a sudden, an indifferent voice rang out. It was exceptionally loud and clear in this silent atmosphere. The person who spoke was none other than the young mansion master of the Azure Cloud Mansion, Duan Lingtian, who had just killed Shi Feng and taken his spatial ring. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was looking at the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. The patriarch of the Human Devil clan was called Yang Jinxing. 4 years ago, when Duan Lingtian had just arrived in the Human Devil Saint City, he had heard about the patriarch of the Human Devil clan more than once. Therefore he knew the name of the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. If I'm not mistaken, Duan Lingtian looked at the patriarch of the Human Devil clan Yang Jinxing and said indifferently, Patriarch Yang, earlier, you asked me if I thought I'd be able to defeat you after I cast my assist-type divine ability. Patriarch Yang, I'm not mistaken, right? Didn't you ask that question earlier? A hint of mockery could be seen in Duan Lingtian's eyes as he studied Yang Jinxing from head to toe. Yang Jinxing felt a burning sensation on his face when he saw Duan Lingtian was about to slap him in the face. However, he did not make a sound or reply to Duan Lingtian. He merely snorted inwardly. It seems like you're not denying that you asked that question, Patriarch Yang. When Duan Lingtian saw no response from Yang Jinxing, he suddenly smiled. His smile was as bright as the rising sun. However, in just a blink of an eye, the sun disappeared without a trace. In just a blink of an eye, the smile on Duan Lingtian's face disappeared and was replaced by a cold expression. Now, I'll give you an answer, Patriarch Yang. I really thought I'd be able to defeat you with my current strength. At this moment, Duan Lingtian spoke again. His indifferent voice was no longer indifferent. Instead, it was replaced by an extremely cold voice that gave others the feeling as though they had fallen into an ice cellar. I really thought I'd be able to defeat you with my current strength. Duan Lingtian's cold words reverberated in the ears of the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls like a clap of thunder, causing their expressions to change drastically. Provocation. Blatant provocation. At this moment, everyone from the 3 palaces and 6 halls could hear the provocation in Duan Lingtian's words. In the next moment, Lord Patriarch, kill him. How dare he blaspheme and provoke Lord Patriarch? He's seeking death. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, many people began to clamor. At the same time, they looked at Yang Jinxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, expectantly. They were eager to see the patriarch of the Human Devil clan kill Duan Lingtian. Most of these people were disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace. As for the high-ranking officials from the Wandering Saint Palace and the 3 palaces and 6 halls, although they were also infuriated by Duan Lingtian's provocation, they did not say anything. This was because they could vaguely sense that Duan Lingtian was not weak at all. They knew Duan Lingtian's current strength was even stronger than the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. Only the disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace with a lower cultivation base and poor judgment thought their patriarch of the Human Devil clan was invincible. Duan Lingtian, don't be too arrogant. Finally, Yang Jinxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, could not help but speak. As soon as he opened his mouth, his voice was like a great bell, shaking the eardrums of many people present and causing them to feel a piercing pain. Moreover, this voice that was like a great bell also contained monstrous fury. Arrogant. Duan Lingtian chuckled when he heard Yang Jinxing's words. A hint of coldness could be seen on his face. Patriarch Yang, I'm going to be arrogant today. What are you going to do about it? Why don't we fight right now? Let me see how strong you are as the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, his eyes shone brightly as he looked at Yang Jinxing. Duan Lingtian's eyes were filled with battle intent that reeked of gunpowder. Duan Lingtian's words had undoubtedly put Yang Jinxing in the spotlight. Duan Lingtian. Yang Jinxing's expression changed drastically as he glared at Duan Lingtian coldly. Don't think you're invincible just because you have some strength. Do you really think no one in this world can defeat you? Do you really think no one can defeat you today? The disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace could not help but feel disappointed when they saw Yang Jinxing had no intention of making a move despite his angry words. Some of the disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace could vaguely sense that the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was confident in his strength. It was likely that the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was not confident he could defeat Duan Lingtian. Otherwise, why would he not make a move until now? Huh? Duan Lingtian laughed when he heard Yang Jinxing's words. Patriarch Yang, I, Duan Lingtian, did not say that no one in this world can defeat me. However, I'm curious, who do you think will be able to defeat me today? As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he raised his head and looked at the clouds in the sky. His gaze was so sharp that it seemed as though it could pierce through the clouds in the sky and lock onto the figure hidden in the clouds. Who is it? As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, everyone including Ke, Duan Lingtian and Ganru Yen, raised their heads in unison and looked in the direction of Duan Lingtian's gaze. There's someone else there? Who is it? Based on Duan Lingtian's words, that person is at least an eminent celestial. Isn't there only one eminent celestial in the Human Devil clan? No, there are 2 eminent celestials today. Don't tell me there's a 3rd eminent celestial in the Human Devil clan? When the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls followed Duan Lingtian's gaze and looked at the sky, they could not help but discuss among themselves. Why, you discovered it? Yang Jinxing's expression changed drastically. He did not expect Duan Lingtian would discover his discovery. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to discover his master who was hiding in the clouds. What? Are you planning to continue hiding? Duan Lingtian could not help but sneer when he saw it was still calm behind the clouds. He immediately said ruthlessly, "Don't worry." He sneered and said, "I'll give you 3 breaths. If you don't show yourself within 3 breaths, I'll personally invite you down here." When Duan Lingtian spoke, he emphasized the word, please, in a particular way. In fact, Duan Lingtian had vaguely sensed two pairs of eyes staring at him even before he began to overcome the heavenly tribulation. However, he did not discover them, so he thought he was hallucinating. Later on, Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, had descended from the sky. After he had successfully overcome the heavenly tribulation and become an eminent celestial, Duan Lingtian was even more certain that someone was watching him. At that time he had guessed that there was someone hiding in the dark, spying on him. Earlier, Duan Lingtian had been observing Yang Zhenxing for a while. He had discovered that Yang Zhenxing would occasionally look at the clouds in the sky. Although it was only for a moment, Duan Lingtian, who was very observant, still noticed it. If Duan Lingtian still could not be certain that someone was hiding behind the cloud and mist, then his reaction would really be too slow. How dare you? Yang Zhenxing's expression changed drastically when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. He growled in a low voice. As soon as Yang Zhenxing growled, a voice rang in the air. Good. Very good. An aged voice was transmitted from the horizon, and it was filled with anger. Whoosh. Under everyone's watchful eyes, a gray cloud descended from the sky. Chapter 23-26. The gray-clad old man had white hair and eyebrows. His face was wrinkled, and he held an old walking stick in his hand. He looked extremely ordinary. However, based on the way the old man appeared, it seemed as though he was telling the people in the surroundings that he was not ordinary. It was impossible for him to be an ordinary person. The group of people was still trying to figure out the gray-clad old man's identity when a respectful voice rang in the air. Master. At the same time, it shocked everyone, including Duan Lingtian, so much so that they shifted their gazes in unison. At this moment, they shifted their attention from the gray-clad old man to the person who addressed the gray-clad old man as master. This old man is the master of Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan? Duan Lingtian raised an eyebrow in surprise when he saw Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, bowing respectfully to the gray-clad old man. He did not expect the old man to be so mysterious. The person hiding in the dark was actually the master of Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. The master of the patriarch of the Human Devil clan? Kerr, Duan Xiling and Gan Ruyen had a hint of dread in their eyes when they learned the gray-clad old man's identity. The patriarch of the Human Devil clan was already an eminent celestial. How powerful was his master? Don't tell me. All of a sudden, Gan Ruyen seemed to have recalled something as her eyes narrowed. However, she quickly shook her head and thought to herself, that's impossible. Shouldn't someone at that level be waiting for the heavenly tribulation that occurs once every 1,000 years? Lord Patriarch. At the same time, the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls discovered the gray-clad old man was none other than Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. All of a sudden, all of them turned pale with fright. I remember very clearly that the Lord Patriarch only had a single master, and his master had already failed to overcome the tribulation over 3,000 years ago. An elder from the Azure Sheen Hall muttered. Although his voice wasn't loud, it was exceptionally loud in the current deathly silent atmosphere. Lord Patriarch's teacher? Isn't Lord Patriarch's master the famous powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, Liao Nai Jiang? I've also heard of Lord Clan Leader's master. But didn't he fail his tribulation over 3,000 years ago? How could he appear here at this time? I don't know. What's going on? Perhaps it's another master of Lord Patriarch. We just don't know. After that Azure Cloud Hall elder spoke, the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls began to discuss spiritedly. Only the leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls, including Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, and Xing Yuan Ba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, looked at the gray-clad old man with fear in their eyes. As the core figures of the 3 palaces and 6 halls, they knew far more than ordinary people. Greetings, Senior Liao. In the end, Yuan Haochen, an eminent celestial, was the first to regain his senses. He bowed respectfully at the gray-clad old man. Greetings, Senior Liao. The other leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls and Xing Yuan Ba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, also bowed respectfully at the gray-clad old man. Their voices were filled with reverence. This gray-clad old man was not an ordinary person. He was a powerhouse who was even stronger than an eminent celestial. Based on the time. Since Senior Liao is still alive, he must be a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial. Moreover, it won't be long before he undergoes his 4th bodiless celestial tribulation, right? Yuan Haochen thought to himself as his eyes shone brightly. The appearance of a three-tribulation bodiless celestial gave him hope. As for this hope, it was, naturally, the hope to kill Duanling Tian. Bodiless celestial. Three-tribulation bodiless celestial. He's a powerhouse who's even stronger than an eminent celestial. I can't believe there's a bodiless celestial in the Human Devil clan. Moreover, he's the master of the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. The 7 leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls and Xing Yuan Ba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, were shocked as well. Although they were aware of the existence of bodiless celestials were usually focused on the heavenly tribulations that occurred once every 1,000 years. For this reason, they had buried the existence of bodiless celestials in the depths of their hearts like a dusty memory. However, now that they saw the master of the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, these dusty memories surfaced in their minds again. It's been more than 3,000 years and the world has changed. I'm surprised all of you still remember me. The gray-clad old man nodded at Yuan Hao Chen. As soon as he spoke, he confirmed Yuan Hao Chen's and the others' suspicions and revealed his identity. It's been more than 3,000 years and the world has changed? He seems to be talking to Palace Master Yuan and the others. I'm surprised they still remember him. Earlier, Palace Master Yuan and the others addressed him as Senior Liao. His surname is Liao and he's Lord Patriarch's master. Don't tell me this gray-clad old man is Liao Naijiang, the powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage who failed the heavenly tribulation more than 3,000 years ago? Didn't he fail the heavenly tribulation? Why is he here? I don't know. The other people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls were also dumbfounded. They could not understand at all. Why would a person who had failed the heavenly tribulation more than 3,000 years ago appear here? In their minds, this was a bodiless celestial. Failure to pass the heavenly tribulation meant death. He's really a bodiless celestial. At this moment, Gan Ru Yan's heart trembled violently, and her expression changed drastically. The thing she did not want to see the most had happened. Bodiless celestial. There was actually a bodiless celestial in the Human Devil clan. It's one thing if he's only a 1 or 2 tribulation bodiless celestial, since his strength is only comparable to a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage or an eminent celestial. However, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan's master failed the heavenly tribulation more than 3,000 years ago. Since he failed the heavenly tribulation more than 3,000 years ago, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan's master should be a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial now. A 3 tribulation bodiless celestial is stronger than an eminent celestial. Will he be able to handle it? Gan Ruyan no longer had confidence in Duanling Tian when she looked at Duanling Tian again. She doubted Duanling Tian would be able to handle a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial. Naturally, she did not think Duanling Tian was a match for a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial. Moreover, Duanling Tian's assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, was extraordinary. After all, the strength of a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial was above that of an eminent celestial. It was a strength that transcended the mundane realm. Unlike Gan Ru Yen, Ke and Duan Si Ling were unaware of the existence of bodiless celestials, just like most people in the 3 palaces and 6 halls. For this reason, although they were wary of the gray-clad old man's master, they did not think Duanling Tian would be a match for the gray-clad old man. Someone who failed the heavenly tribulation more than 3,000 years ago? When Duanling Tian heard the discussion among the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls, he could not help but frown as he looked at the gray-clad old man. How could someone who failed the heavenly tribulation more than 3,000 years ago appear here? Like most people present on the scene, Duanling Tian was also unaware of the existence of bodiless celestials. Human boy. The gray-clad old man, Liao Naijiang, the master of the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, suddenly looked at Duanling Tian. When he looked at Duanling Tian, his originally cloudy eyes emitted a frightening cold light that seemed as if it was choosing a person to swallow, and it gave Duanling Tian the feeling as if he was being stared at by a venomous snake. As an eminent celestial, you're able to raise your strength to the level of a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial by relying on assist-type divine abilities. You should be proud of yourself. Liao Naijiang said indifferently. 3 tribulation bodiless celestial? Upon hearing Liao Naijiang's words, the reactions of the people present on the scene were divided into 2 groups. One group, including Duanling Tian, was confused. What's a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial? The other group was the patriarch of the Human Devil clan and the others who knew about bodiless celestials. When they heard Liao Naijiang's words, they were shocked again. Duanling Tian's current strength is comparable to a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial? After all, eminent celestials represented the peak strength in the mundane realm. Three tribulation bodiless celestials, on the other hand, represented strength that surpassed the mundane realm. Although the two were only one step apart, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. Duan Lingtian, who had just become an eminent celestial, possessed strength comparable to a three tribulation bodiless celestial after he cast his assist-type divine ability? Perhaps this was only a temporary increase in strength, but it was still shocking. What's a three tribulation bodiless celestial? Duan Lingtian asked with a frown on his face as he looked at Liao Naijiang. You don't know about three tribulation bodiless celestials? Liao Naijiang was stunned when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Then he sneered. However, that's not important. I'll show you the true strength of a three tribulation bodiless celestial. As soon as Liao Naijiang finished speaking, boom, 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 boom. An earth-shattering sound rang in the air when Liao Naijiang unleashed an invincible energy that caused the surrounding space to distort and distort as though it would be torn apart at any moment. Chapter 23-27. As a three tribulation bodiless celestial, Liao Naijiang was much stronger than eminent celestials. At this moment, the energy in his body swept out like numerous furious dragons roaring out. They struck the void, causing circles of folded and distorted ripples to appear in the void. It was as though the void was about to be torn apart. What a powerful energy! As soon as Liao Naijiang's energy swept out, Duan Lingtian could feel how powerful Liao Naijiang's energy was. His current strength is not something an eminent celestial can compare to. Is this the strength of a three tribulation bodiless celestial? This was the first time Duan Lingtian had heard of a three tribulation bodiless celestial. Therefore he did not know much about it. However, when he sensed the energy surging out of Liao Naijiang's body, he realized how powerful a three tribulation bodiless celestial was. This kind of power, once it's unleashed, it's much more powerful than the one-time killing formations left behind by the three eminent devils in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. According to Elder Hua, the power unleashed by the one-time killing formation is already at the peak of power in the mundane realm. In other words, Liao Naijiang, a three tribulation bodiless celestial, is stronger than the mundane realm. The strength of the celestials in the mundane realms is comparable to the strength of the celestials in the Devata realms. Duan Lingtian's expression turned slightly solemn when he thought about this. As it turned out, even though he had cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to boost his celestial origin energy, he was not invincible in the mundane realm. There were also people in the mundane realm who were stronger than the mundane realm. What's a three tribulation bodiless celestial? How can he be so strong? Duan Lingtian grew more and more curious about this three tribulation bodiless celestial. The energy surging out of Liao Naijiang's body caused the void to ripple as though it would be torn apart at any moment. The people from the three palaces and 6 halls were all dumbfounded. Most of them had looks of shock and disbelief on their faces. When had they ever seen such an exaggerated scene? Feels like space is about to collapse. What kind of power is this? Is this the strength of a three tribulation bodiless celestial? What on earth is a three tribulation individual immortal? I don't know. At this moment, the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls were shocked by Liao Naijiang's strength. At the same time, they were curious about what a three tribulation bodiless celestial was. Based on the current situation, three tribulation bodiless celestials were much stronger than the eminent celestials in the mundane realms. Vice Palace Master Xing, you know about three tribulation bodiless celestials? A Vice Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace asked bluntly as he looked at Xing Yuanba, who was also a Vice Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace. His eyes were filled with curiosity. The reason he asked Xing Yuanba this question was because he discovered that Xing Yuanba's eyes were filled with respect. From the beginning until the end, Xing Yuanba only looked at the master of the patriarch of the human devil clan respectfully. He did not seem curious at all. It was obvious he already knew what a three tribulation bodiless celestial was. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. When the Vice Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace spoke, the high-ranking officials from Great Spirit Palace turned to look at Xing Yuanba in unison. Their eyes were filled with curiosity as well. Three tribulation bodiless celestials are stronger than eminent celestials. Their strength far surpasses eminent celestials. Faced with the curious gazes of the Great Spirit Palace's upper echelons, Xing Yuanba had no choice but to reply with a grave expression. His tone was filled with respect for three tribulation bodiless celestials. Vice Palace Master Xing, how are three tribulation bodiless celestials born? After a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage passes the heavenly tribulation and becomes an eminent celestial, won't he be attracted by the celestial ascension force and ascend to a higher realm? Another vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace asked the question that everyone wanted to ask. That's right. Don't tell me there are eminent celestials who can avoid being attracted by the celestial ascension force and stay in the mundane realm to cultivate and break through to three tribulation bodiless celestials? Another elder from Great Spirit Palace asked. That's not the case. Xing Yuanba shook his head and said, three tribulation bodiless celestials are bodiless celestials, they have nothing to do with eminent celestials. In fact, they haven't even experienced becoming an eminent celestial. This was because all of them failed the celestial ascension tribulation without exception. Eminent celestials can only become eminent celestials after passing the heavenly tribulation. When Xing Yuanba's voice entered the ears of the Great Spirit Palace's upper echelons, their hearts trembled. Doesn't failing the heavenly tribulation mean death? One of the elders from Great Spirit Palace asked in shock and disbelief. Most of the upper echelons of Great Spirit Palace nodded in agreement with the elder. Failing the heavenly tribulation doesn't mean death. Xing Yuanba continued to say, when a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage faces the celestial ascension tribulation, even if he fails the heavenly tribulation, he might be able to escape using the soul detachment technique. However, if he manages to escape using the soul detachment technique, he'll be regarded as a deserter on the path to celestial ascension. He won't be able to reincarnate and can only exist as a soul. They're called bodiless celestials. From the time one fails the heavenly tribulation and becomes a bodiless celestial, heaven and earth will send a heavenly tribulation every 1,000 years to punish bodiless celestials who are deserters on the path to celestial ascension. If a bodiless celestial can withstand 10 heavenly tribulations in 10,000 years, he'll have a chance to ascend a second time. The 10 heavenly tribulations a bodiless celestial has to face in 10,000 years are called the 1,000-year tribulation and the bodiless celestial tribulation. On this path, bodiless celestials will either fail the heavenly tribulation and die or survive the heavenly tribulation. Every time a bodiless celestial passes the heavenly tribulation, his strength will increase tremendously. Xing Yuanba continued to explain patiently as the high-ranking officials of Great Spirit Palace looked at him in disbelief. He continued to say, after a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage fails the heavenly tribulation and becomes a bodiless celestial, his strength will be weaker than an ordinary powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Only after 1,000 years and passing the first bodiless celestial tribulation will one possess strength comparable to a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Bodiless celestials who pass the first bodiless celestial tribulation are called one tribulation bodiless celestials. If they pass the second bodiless celestial tribulation, they'll become a second tribulation bodiless celestial and possess strength comparable to an eminent celestial. After passing the third bodiless celestial tribulation, one would become a three tribulation bodiless celestial and possess strength that surpasses eminent celestials. As for the four tribulation bodiless celestials, 5 tribulation bodiless celestials, 6 tribulation bodiless celestials, 7 tribulation bodiless celestials, 8 tribulation bodiless celestials, and 9 tribulation bodiless celestials, they would be even stronger. Xing Yuanba paused for a moment before he continued to speak. Naturally, each bodiless celestial tribulation is stronger than the previous one. It's extremely difficult to pass all of them. In the long history of the devil clans, it's rare to see a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial and successfully pass the 10th bodiless celestial tribulation and ascend. Xing Yuanba said all of this in one breath and did not continue. Since he had said what he wanted to say, there was no need for him to continue. The high-ranking officials of Great Spirit Palace who were present on the scene found Xing Yuanba's words to be an eye-opener. It was as though he had opened the door to a new world for them. As it turns out, eminent celestials aren't the strongest beings in the mundane realm. As it turns out, there are bodiless celestials in the mundane realm. 3 tribulation bodiless celestials possess strength comparable to eminent celestials. In that case, how strong would the 4 tribulation bodiless celestials and 5 tribulation bodiless celestials be? 3 tribulation bodiless celestials are comparable to ordinary celestials in the Devata realms. 4, 5, and 4 tribulation bodiless celestials are even more terrifying. However, the 10 bodiless celestials' tribulations are stronger than the previous one. The stronger the bodiless celestial, the fewer the bodiless celestials will be. After the high-ranking officials of Great Spirit Palace regained their senses, they sighed in shock. Initially, I thought failing the heavenly tribulation would mean death, let alone ascending to the Devata realms. I didn't expect failing the heavenly tribulation doesn't mean death. There's still a chance to become a bodiless celestial and ascend a second time. An elder of Great Spirit Palace exclaimed. It's easier said than done to obtain a second chance to ascend. Didn't you hear Vice Palace Master Xing say that even in the long history of the devil clans, those who could become 9 tribulation bodiless celestials and transcend the 10th tribulation of the bodiless celestial stage are as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns? Based on Vice Palace Master Xing's words, it's too difficult to ascend a second time. I'm afraid most bodiless celestials have died trying to ascend a second time. The 2 Vice Palace Masters of Great Spirit Palace chimed in one after another. There are bodiless celestials in the mundane realm. Chapter 23-28. Xing Yuanba, the Vice Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, did not speak loudly. However, due to the silence in the surroundings, everyone, including Duan Lingtian, heard his words clearly. Bodiless celestial. At this moment, Duan Lingtian finally understood. As it turned out, there were powerhouses at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage who had survived the heavenly tribulation and become bodiless celestials in this mundane realm. Moreover, there were many bodiless celestials who were stronger than eminent celestials. Their strength was comparable to celestials in the Devata realms. Xing Yuanba's words seemed to have opened a door to a new world for Duan Lingtian. He realized that the bodiless celestial stage was not weak at all. It was the bodiless celestials who were the strongest in the Devata realms. To be more precise, they were 3 tribulation bodiless celestials or stronger. 3 tribulation bodiless celestials are stronger than eminent celestials? For Kerr and Duan Si Ling, Xing Yuanba's words seemed to have opened a door to a new world for them as well. They could not help but worry about Duan Lingtian's safety. After all, they had thought Liao Naijiang, the patriarch of the human devil clan's master, was just a slightly stronger eminent celestial. They did not expect him to be stronger than eminent celestials. Bodiless celestial? A solemn expression appeared on Huang Wenjing's frosty face. She had thought Duan Lingtian would be able to escape the patriarch of the human devil clan since his strength was on par with the patriarch of the human devil clan. Who would have thought the patriarch of the human devil clan's master would appear? Moreover, he was a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial who was stronger than eminent celestials. Master. Brother Lingtian. Peng Lai and Huang Qiling's hearts skipped a beat. It was as though they were on a roller coaster ride. I can't believe Lord Patriarch's master is still alive. Moreover, he's a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial whose strength surpasses eminent celestials. Wouldn't it be easy for a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial to kill Duan Lingtian? Yun Fai's lips curled into a cold smile. As his emotions fluctuated, he only felt that Duan Lingtian was definitely going to die. Just when the people present on the scene were shocked by the existence of bodiless celestials, human brat. Liao Naijiang, a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial, whose energy swept across the sky, causing the sky to crack and collapse, suddenly shouted. His voice was like a clap of thunder, causing the eardrums of everyone present to tremble. Even though his shout was not directed at the others present, it still caused the eardrums of many people with lower cultivations to rupture. Some of them even bled from their 7 orifices. Liao Naijiang's fierce shout was precisely aimed at Duan Lingtian. When you're on your way to the netherworld, remember that the person who's going to kill you is me, Liao Naijiang, a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial. After this stern shout, Liao Naijiang's increasingly deep voice also sounded, as if it was world-shaking. His words were akin to a death sentence for Duan Lingtian. As soon as Liao Naijiang finished speaking, the entire place fell into a deathly silence. Numerous gazes fell on Liao Naijiang at the first possible moment. They knew this was not the case. Liao Naijiang was going to make his move. As soon as Liao Naijiang finished speaking, many people turned to look at him. Boom! A loud explosion rang in the air as Liao Naijiang's figure flashed and disappeared before most people's eyes. Only a few people could vaguely see Liao Naijiang's figure. These people were all at least at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. It was rumored that among the leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls, only the 3 palace masters were at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. In fact, the palace masters of the 6 halls were also at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Their strength was only slightly inferior to the palace masters of the 3 palaces. As soon as Liao Naijiang's figure disappeared from everyone's sight, everyone was shocked. The void where Liao Naijiang was originally at had caved in. It kept twisting and folding as though it would collapse at any moment. What a powerful force. It actually caused the entire void to cave in. Is this the strength of a three-tribulation bodiless celestial? He could unleash such a terrifying force in just a blink of an eye. It's heaven-defying. As expected of a powerhouse who's stronger than an eminent celestial, the space where Liao Naijiang was originally in had caved in for a short period of time. After a while, it gradually bounced back up and returned to normal. The group of people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls who were watching suddenly burst into an uproar. Their faces were filled with shock. At this moment, they had witnessed how terrifying a three-tribulation bodiless celestial was. If it was an eminent celestial, even if he used all his strength, he might not be able to cause the void to cave in like this, right? Even more people felt their hearts tremble in fear. Among the people present, there were only 3 people who could clearly see Liao Naijiang's figure. One of them was Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. He was also Liao Naijiang's direct disciple and was an eminent celestial. The other person was Yuan Haochen, the palace master of the Wandering Saint Palace. Currently, Yuan Haochen had successfully passed the Celestial Ascension Tribulation and become an eminent celestial. The last person was, naturally, Duanling Tian, whom Liao Naijiang had charged toward. What a fast speed! What a powerful force! In Duanling Tian's eyes, Liao Naijiang's strength surged as he charged forward. The void where Liao Naijiang passed shook and distorted as though it would collapse at any moment. At this moment, Duanling Tian was the one who could clearly see Liao Naijiang's movements. Even Yang Zhenxing and Yuan Haochen, who were both eminent celestials, could only see Liao Naijiang's figure clearly. Suddenly, Duanling Tian seemed to have seen something shocking, and his eyes narrowed abruptly. He saw that when Liao Naijiang was running halfway, his figure shook and turned into a cloud of gray mist. Then it expanded and turned into a mountain-sized beast monster. It looked like a tiger, but it was not a tiger. Its whole body was burning with gray flames. This monster's eyes were suffused with a bloody red light. Just one look at it would make one's hair stand on end. As soon as Liao Naijiang transformed into a beast the size of a small mountain, Duanling Tian and the others heard an earth-shattering roar that seemed to resound in the air. Although the roar was not loud, it still injured many disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace. The disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace either retreated far away or covered their ears with their hands as they stared at the distorted space in horror. Even with their strength and eyesight, they could only see the space where Liao Naijiang was standing before Duanling Tian trembled and distorted. They could not see Liao Naijiang, who had transformed into a walking beast that resembled a tiger. Tiger Devil Illusory Body. Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, was shocked. He did not expect his master to use his most powerful technique as soon as he made his move. It seems like master doesn't dare to underestimate Duanling Tian. He's using his full strength as soon as he makes his move. As Liao Naijiang's direct disciple, Yang Zhenxing naturally knew his master's most powerful technique was the Tiger Devil Illusory Body. His master was the offspring of a human and a tiger devil, so he had half of the tiger devil bloodline in him. The Tiger Devil Illusory Body was a technique his master had created by burning his Tiger Devil bloodline and combining it with his offensive and assist-type divine abilities and human martial techniques. When this technique was executed with full force, its might was so strong that it could be said to be the strongest attack his master could execute. However, after this attack, I'm afraid that it will take some time for master to recover the Tiger Devil bloodline in his body. I hope he'll be able to recover before the 4th bodiless celestial tribulation arrives. Otherwise, it'll be difficult for him to pass the heavenly tribulation. Yang Zhenxing could not help but feel worried for his master when he thought about this. Bang, bang, bang. In Duanling Tian's line of sight, Liao Naijiang, the 3 tribulation bodiless celestial, had transformed into a walking beast that resembled a tiger and was charging toward him at an extremely fast speed. Every time his limbs landed in the void, there would be an earth-shattering boom, and the void would cave in as well. It was as if wherever it passed through, a clear footprint would appear with every step it took. After all, this was the air, not the ground. It was easy to leave a footprint on the ground, but to leave a clear footprint in the void was harder than ascending to the heavens. Even an eminent celestial would not be able to do this even if he exhausted all his strength. In just a blink of an eye. At this moment, Liao Naijiang was only a few dozen meters away from Duanling Tian. As he continued to charge toward Duanling Tian, his eyes that were glowing with a bloody red light shone brightly as though they had transformed into 2 blood-red blazing suns. At the same time, it opened its mouth as a ball of light formed from gray energy appeared. It emitted a destructive aura as though it could destroy everything. Die. As Liao Naijiang transformed into a beast-like monster, he let out an extremely cold roar. Whoosh. The ball of light that was transformed from the grayish energy in its mouth whistled as it shot out. Its target was Duanling Tian, and it was heading straight for him. As soon as the ball of light formed from the gray energy left its mouth, Duanling Tian was stunned. At the same time as the light ball swept out, the beast-like monster that Liao Naijiang had transformed into instantly turned into a gray flame that wrapped around the light ball, allowing the light ball to carry it towards him. At the same time, Duanling Tian discovered that the gray flame on the ball of light surged. Chapter 23-29. Whoosh. The ball of light that was surrounded by gray flames and emitted waves of destructive aura was like a meteorite that came from outer space. It carried with it a terrifying force as it charged toward Duanling Tian. Wherever this meteor-like ball of light passed, it caused the space to tremble and distort, and it forcefully opened up a sunken heavenly road. Just now, at the last moment, his entire body fused into the attack as if he had completely fused with the attack. At the same time he fused with the attack, the power of the attack was raised by another level compared to before. At the same time as the meteor-like ball of light came crashing down, Duanling Tian's mind was filled with thoughts at this moment. In that regard, it seems to be similar to the fourth level of the Sovereign Heart Sword, Brilliant Sword Heart. At this moment, Duanling Tian discovered something. He vaguely felt the opportunity to break through to the fourth stage of the Supreme Sword Dao Mental Cultivation Method, the Sovereign Heart Sword. Moreover, the feeling was very strong. It was more than 10 times stronger than before. The opportunity came so suddenly that Duanling Tian could not regain his senses. At the same time, the ball of light that looked like a meteorite from outer space was closing in on Duanling Tian. It was surrounded by gray flames and emitted waves of destructive aura. Duanling Tian's heart skipped a beat when he sensed a dangerous aura. As soon as he sensed the dangerous aura, Duanling Tian felt pressured. It made Duanling Tian feel as though he had transformed into a lonely boat in the sea. He swayed with the waves and was in danger of capsizing at any time. It seemed like Duanling Tian was about to be engulfed and killed by the destructive ball of light. I see. At this critical moment, Duanling Tian, who had once again grasped the opportunity to break through to the fourth stage of the Supreme Sword Dao Mental Cultivation Method, the Sovereign Heart Sword, under the immense pressure of life and death, suddenly had a flash of inspiration. At this moment, he felt as though many things that he could not figure out before had suddenly become clear to him. The things that he could not figure out before were the obstacles that prevented him from breaking through to the fourth stage of the Supreme Sword Dao Mental Cultivation Method, the Sovereign Heart Sword. Now that the obstacles had been cleared, the path ahead was clear. When the destructive ball of light was close to him, Duanling Tian, who was originally nervous, suddenly calmed down. At this moment, Duanling Tian could even hear his own heartbeat. All of a sudden, sword heart illumination. Duanling Tian's heart jolted. It was as though he no longer had any desires or fears of death. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Whoosh! A dazzling light rose from Duanling Tian's body without any warning. The vast and majestic celestial origin energy surged out of Duanling Tian's 99 saint veins. In just a blink of an eye, it transformed into tens of thousands of sharp sword qi that engulfed Duanling Tian. During this process, Duanling Tian seemed to have become a part of the tens of thousands of sword qi. Duanling Tian's long hair, Duanling Tian's eyes, Duanling Tian's ears, Duanling Tian's nose, Duanling Tian's everything. At this moment, all of them shot out streaks of incomparably sharp sword light. At this moment, countless sword qi shot out from Duanling Tian's body. Every single strand of dazzling and material sword light leaped out from every single pore on his body before converging and fusing together. It was like 100 rivers flowing into the sea, and it gave others a feeling of majesty and vastness. At this moment, Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, and Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, seemed to have seen something that shocked them. Their eyes widened in unison. In their field of vision, Duanling Tian's body melted, leaving behind a dazzling white light. In the blink of an eye, the white light solidified and turned into a medium-sized sword light. Moreover, the white light on the sword light also quickly converged in the blink of an eye. In just a blink of an eye, the sword qi had transformed into a white, 3-foot-long sword that hovered in the air. Swoosh! In the face of the menacing destructive light ball that had arrived in front of Duanling Tian in just a blink of an eye, the 3-foot-long blade, which was originally calmly hovering in the air, finally moved. A white streak of light swept across the sky. Buzz! After the white streak of light swept across the sky, the crisp sound of a sharp sword whistling through the air rang in the air. As for why the sound of a sword whistling through the air came after the white streak of light, it was because the speed of light was faster than the speed of sound. As the sword whistled through the air, the sound of a sword whistling through the air rang in the air. Without anyone controlling it, the white 3-foot-long blade suddenly swung through the air. This swing in the air looked very casual, and the speed of the swing was neither fast nor slow. At the very least, Yang Zhenxing and Yuan Haochen, who were both eminent celestials, could clearly see the trajectory of the 3-foot-long sword as it swept across the sky. With just a wave of the sword, rip! A clear ripping sound rang in the air as though something was being torn apart. Upon closer inspection, one could see the sword light. It was the white sword that tore open a crack in the void with a casual swing of the sword. Rip, rip, rip. In the void, a ferocious and terrifying crack appeared out of nowhere. Moreover, the speed of the crack was extremely fast, and the width of the crack was also extremely exaggerated. Moreover, it continued to extend in the direction of the meteor-like destructive ball of light that was whizzing through the sky. It seemed as though it was going to tear the ball of light apart as well. A sword that could tear the void apart? Impossible. How can you tear the void apart? A voice that was filled with disbelief rang from the ball of light that was charging toward Duan Lingtian as though it would not stop until it killed Duan Lingtian. It was none other than Liao Nai Jiang, a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial. At this moment, in addition to the shock and disbelief in Liao Nai Jiang's voice, there was also a trace of extreme fear. It was as if he had encountered something that made him tremble in fear. As soon as Liao Nai Jiang's voice rang in the air, rip! The crack that the white 3-foot-long blade tore open in the void spread out in an instant. It met the destructive light ball and tore it apart as well. It was as though the sword had cut the ball of light in half. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately after, the void crack trembled, and circles of ripples began to spread out in the void. As for the two halves of the destructive light ball, it was instantly sucked into the void crack as if it had never appeared. From the beginning until the end, no one heard anything about Liao Nai Jiang, the 3-tribulation bodiless celestial. The deep void crack was pitch black. One could not see the end of it, it was boundless and boundless. Whoosh. At the same time, the white 3-foot-long sword in the air shone brightly before it transformed into a human figure. The figure gradually appeared. It was none other than Duan Lingtian, who was wearing a purple robe and looked unscathed. That's the enlightened sword? When Duan Lingtian reappeared, he did not pay any attention to the shocked gazes around him. Instead, he stood in the air with his head lowered as he pondered. Right now, he was reminiscing about how he had perfectly transformed his body into a sword and casually swung his sword like a stroke of God. That was the technique the Supreme Sword Dao mental cultivation method, the 4th stage the enlightened sword heart, had given him. Transforming into a sword. Becoming one with the sword. With just a swing of the sword, the void was torn apart. At the same time, Duan Lingtian, who had reappeared, appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Apart from Duan Lingtian, who was hovering in the air with his head lowered in contemplation, there was also a long and ferocious tear in the void that was only a foot away from him. This void crack gave people an extremely strong visual shock. The void crack continued to sway in the void, causing the void to tremble and distort. Behind this crack in space was an endless darkness that stretched as far as the eye could see. It was like a giant beast had opened its bloody maw, as if it could swallow everything in its path. A series of crisp sounds rang in the air as the tear in the void next to Duan Lingtian began to heal. However, because the size of the tear was too exaggerated, it would take at least 15 to 30 minutes for it to completely heal. A person in a long and ferocious void. This scene was destined to be engraved in everyone's heart, and they would never forget it for the rest of their lives. The group of people present had yet to recover from the frightening scene in front of them. Master! Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the human devil clan, cried out sorrowfully, breaking the silence. Everyone turned to look at him one after another. Yang Zhenxing looked at the shattered soul pearl in his hand and the void next to Duan Lingtian with a pained expression on his face. It was as though he had lost something very important. That's the soul pearl of the patriarch's master, Senior Liao, a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial? Someone exclaimed in a low voice. Immediately, a commotion broke out at the scene. Senior Liao is dead? How's this possible? He's a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial. His strength surpasses eminent celestials. How could he die in the hands of an eminent celestial? I think it's impossible as well. There must be a mistake. Chapter 2330. Everyone present, no matter who they were, was dumbfounded. Most of them did not manage to see what had happened due to their limited strength. However, now that the results were out, they were once again dumbfounded. Liao Nai Jiang, a three-tribulation bodiless celestial and the master of the patriarch of the human devil clan, was killed by Duan Lingtian, the young mansion master of Azure Cloud Mansion. Moreover, it seemed like he was killed in just a single blow. How did he tear the void apart? How is he so strong? Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, narrowed his eyes in disbelief when he saw the tear in the void not far from Duan Lingtian and Duan Lingtian. Based on what he knew, only 4 tribulation bodiless celestials or stronger could tear the void apart and leave a tear in the void when they made their move. Although a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial had extraordinary strength, he was not strong enough to tear the void apart. This was the reason why Liao Nai Jiang, a 3 tribulation bodiless celestial, could only cause a dent in the void even though he had unleashed his full strength. It seemed as though the void would collapse at any moment. Tearing the void apart was a technique exclusive to 4 tribulation bodiless celestials and above. Duan Lingtian's current strength is comparable to a 4 tribulation bodiless celestial? Yuan Haochen was still in disbelief. However, the truth was right in front of him. He had no choice but to believe it. As an eminent celestial, although he did not clearly see the battle between Duan Lingtian and Liao Nai Jiang, he could roughly guess what had happened. Duan Lingtian had killed Liao Nai Jiang in just a single blow when Liao Nai Jiang had attacked with all his might. At the critical moment, countless sword rays burst out from Duan Lingtian's body. He transformed into a part of the thousands of sword rays. In the end, the thousands of sword rays condensed into a white longsword. The instant Liao Nai Jiang rushed forward, the white longsword in the air seemed to casually swing horizontally. At that time, the speed of the white longsword was not considered fast, so much so that even I could clearly see its trajectory. However, it was precisely this seemingly slow horizontal slash of the sword that cut open the void and created a long and narrow crack in the void. Yuan Haochen could not help but shudder in fear when he recalled what had happened. Duan Lingtian's sword had left a long and narrow tear in the void with just a wave of his hand. Based on the length of the tear in the void that Duan Lingtian created, it seems like he's much stronger than an ordinary 4 tribulation bodiless celestial. At the same time, Yuan Haochen had this thought. In the distance, Duan Lingtian, who had been deep in thought with his head lowered, suddenly moved in front of everyone's eyes. He raised his hand and a dazzling white sword light shot out from his palm. In the blink of an eye, it seemed to have turned into a sword and was held in his hand. I feel like I don't even need to use any technique. I can tear this void apart. Duan Lingtian's heart skipped a beat. The white sword ray that was formed from celestial origin energy and saint origin swept across the air as well. His speed was neither fast nor slow. At the very least, everyone present could see his movements clearly. Everyone present could clearly see the white sword light that swept through the void. Wherever it passed, another crack would appear in the void. Compared to the tear in the void next to Duan Lingtian, this tear in the void was not conspicuous at all. However, Duan Lingtian did not cast any divine abilities, martial tactics, or the profundity of the sovereign heart sword. He merely relied on the energy in his body to tear open a tear in the void. How's this possible? The expressions of the leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls, including Yuan Haochen, changed drastically when they saw how Duan Lingtian was able to tear the void apart without using any technique. They finally realized how powerful Duan Lingtian was. Even a 4 tribulation bodiless celestial wouldn't be able to tear the void apart so easily, right? Duan Lingtian has just become an eminent celestial, and his strength seems to be even stronger than a 4 tribulation bodiless celestial. Am I dreaming? He seems to have cast an assist-type divine ability after he became an eminent celestial. That's how he managed to raise his strength to such a level. What I'm curious about is what assist-type divine ability he cast. If that's the case, the assist-type divine ability he cast is definitely not from the mundane realm. Apart from Yuan Haochen, the leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls were discussing among themselves. They had also realized how terrifying Duan Lingtian's assist-type divine ability was. For someone who had just become an eminent celestial to become so powerful in such a short time, one could easily imagine how terrifying that assist-type divine ability was. Most of the people present had an expression of shock and disbelief on their faces as they stared at Duan Lingtian in bewilderment. Sword-wielding technique. With just a thought, the white sword ray in Duan Lingtian's hand flew out of his hand and swept across the air like a white dragon. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of something being torn apart rang in the air. As the white sword ray circled around Duan Tian, it left terrifying cracks in the void around Duan Tian. For a moment, the void around Duan Tian seemed to have turned into sheets of paper that swayed in the air. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The short-lived sound of sword whistling rang in the air as the space around Duan Tian was torn apart like a piece of paper being cut into pieces. At this moment, Duan Tian was like a god who controlled space. Wherever he passed, the void would crumble. The sword-wielding technique is a technique granted to me by the third stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the sword-wielding technique with the heart. About 15 minutes later, the cracks in the void that Duan Tian had created had completely healed. Only the tear in the void remained, and it would take some time for it to heal. This was the crack in the void that Duan Tian had created using the technique granted to him by the fourth stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the Brilliant Sword Heart. The technique granted to me by the fourth stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the Brilliant Sword Heart, allows me to merge with the energy in my body to form a sword. From today onward, I'll call it the body and sword as one. Duan Tian thought to himself. The body and sword as one was currently Duan Tian's strongest technique. If I use it with the otherworldly celestial, the body and sword as one, I won't be limited to just one sword. At that time, I'll be able to transform into a sword and my clones will be able to transform into several swords as well. Duan Tian thought to himself as his eyes lit up like the stars in the night sky. However, that three-tribulation bodiless celestial, Liao Nai Jiang, isn't that strong. Even if I didn't use any technique, it wouldn't have been difficult for me to kill him, let alone the fact that I managed to use the body and sword as one technique granted to me by the fourth stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword. Currently, with my strength that has been raised by the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, I'll be able to tear the void apart even if I don't use any technique. As for Liao Nai Jiang, even though he used all of his abilities before he died, he only managed to cause the void to nearly collapse and crack open. He didn't actually tear the void apart. At this moment, Duan Tian finally realized the huge gap between him and Liao Nai Jiang. I didn't expect the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, would be able to raise my strength to such an extent after I became an eminent celestial. The elementary devouring tactic is indeed an extraordinary assist-type divine ability in the Devata realms. Although Duan Tian was surprised by his current strength, he was not too surprised. After all, not only had he devoured the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city, but he had also devoured the heaven and earth spirit energy in one of the two richest saint stone mines in the Debussy subterranean. Another quarter of an hour passed before the crack in the void was completely healed. In the vast expanse of space, only Duan Tian remained standing there like a god, causing the surrounding crowd to look up at him. Brother Tian. Ku Er's eyes sparkled as she looked at Duan Tian, and her peerlessly beautiful face revealed an expression of deep adoration. Father is so amazing. A hint of admiration could be seen in Duan Ling's eyes as well. Gan Ruyen looked at Duan Tian with a complicated expression on her face. He's so powerful. When Huang Wenjing looked at Duan Tian, her expression was even more complicated than Gan Ruyen's. I, Peng Lai, haven't lived in vain to have such a master, Peng Lai said proudly as he straightened his back. It was as though he was afraid others would not know that the godlike purple-clad young man was his master. Brother Ling Tian? Huang Qiling said in a hoarse voice. Although Huang Qiling was happy for Duan Tian, he was also slightly ashamed of his own inferiority. He could not bring himself to call Duan Tian brother Ling Tian. Yun Fuyi, who was standing next to Huang Wenjing, looked at Duan Tian with fear in his eyes. He could not think of anything else. Clan leader Yang. At the same time, Duan Tian, who was hovering in the air like a god, said indifferently as his eyes shone brightly at Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the human devil clan. Chapter 23:31. I'm sorry. I couldn't control myself earlier and ended up killing your master. When the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls heard Duan Tian's words, they were rendered speechless. He couldn't control himself earlier and ended up killing Duan Tian's master? At this moment, everyone could tell Duan Tian was trying to provoke Duan Tian. However, even if they could tell, what could they do? Lord Patriarch. As soon as Duan Tian spoke, the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls shifted their attention to Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the human devil clan. However, the patriarch's master, a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial, had died in Duan Tian's hands in just a single blow. It would be easy for Duan Lingtian to kill the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. After all, although the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was powerful, he held a high position in their hearts. However, they knew this was not the case. No matter how powerful the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was, he was not as powerful as his master. Since Lord Patriarch's master, a three-tribulation bodiless celestial, has been killed by Duan Lingtian, who else in the Human Devil clan can defeat him? He killed a three-tribulation bodiless celestial in just a single blow. It's easy for him to kill the patriarch who's weaker than a three-tribulation bodiless celestial. The Human Devil clan is in danger today. Many of the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls had grim expressions on their faces. Despair rose in their hearts. They felt the Human Devil clan was in deep trouble. After all, the Human Devil clan was facing a godlike powerhouse who could kill a three-tribulation bodiless celestial in just a single blow. At this moment, Yang Jinxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, felt as though his lungs were about to explode when he heard Duan Lingtian's indifferent words. He finally said, "Duan Lingtian." Yang Jinxing took a deep breath before he glared at Duan Lingtian with a grim expression on his face. Then he said coldly, "Duan Lingtian." He said coldly, "Do you really think no one in the Human Devil clan can defeat you just because you killed my master? Even if your strength is comparable to a 5 or 6 tribulation bodiless celestial, it's still easy for the patriarch of the Human Devil clan to kill you." When Yang Jinxing spoke about the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, a hint of reverence could be seen in his eyes. It was as though the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was extremely powerful. After all, the Human Devil of the Human Devil clan. The patriarch of the Human Devil clan seemed to be stronger than a 5 or 6 tribulation bodiless celestial. Patriarch? Everyone from the 3 palaces and 6 halls was dumbfounded when they heard Yang Jinxing's words. The eyes of the leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls, including Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, and Xing Yuan Ba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, narrowed their eyes in shock. The patriarch is still alive? As people in the Human Devil clan who knew about bodiless celestials, they knew a thing or two about the bodiless celestials in the Human Devil clan. One of them was the old ancestor whom the patriarch of the Human Devil clan had mentioned. They clearly remembered the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. The last time the patriarch of the Human Devil clan appeared was more than 2,000 years ago. At that time, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was a 5 tribulation bodiless celestial. If he was still alive, he would be a 7 or 8 tribulation bodiless celestial at the very least. When they heard the patriarch of the Human Devil clan mention the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, they realized the patriarch of the Human Devil clan might still be alive. Patriarch Yang, based on your words, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan is a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial? Duan Lingtian asked with a faint smile on his face as he looked at Yang Jinxing. Although Duan Lingtian maintained a faint smile on his face, he could not help but feel a sense of dread in the depths of his heart. He could tell the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was not afraid of him. The patriarch of the Human Devil clan was not bluffing. Perhaps his words could be false, but the awe and veneration in the depths of the patriarch's eyes was undeniable. "What? Are you afraid?" Yang Jinxing sneered when he heard Duan Lingtian's question. "Afraid?" Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. "Perhaps. However, so what if the patriarch of the Human Devil clan is a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial? If I'm not mistaken, he shouldn't be in the Human Devil clan's territory, right? It's impossible for him to make it here in such a short time, right?" Yang Jinxing's expression darkened when he heard Duan Lingtian's question. Duan Lingtian continued to ask. After all, Duan Lingtian's guess was correct. The patriarch of the Human Devil clan was indeed not in the Human Devil clan's territory. Moreover, it was impossible for him to make it here in such a short time. As the saying goes, distant water can't quench a nearby fire, Duan Lingtian said as he extended his divine consciousness and sealed the area around Yang Jinxing. "Patriarch Yang, before you make a move and send a message to your ancestor, I have full confidence that I can kill you and leave. No matter how strong a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial is, he won't be able to find me in the Dao Martial Saint land. With my current strength, I can tear the void and open the space barrier at any time to head to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint land." As Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Yang Jinxing's face darkened further. His eyes flickered and no one knew what he was thinking. He discovered, at this moment, it seemed like he really could not cause any trouble in front of Duan Lingtian. "Duan Lingtian, how do you know our ancestor isn't in our territory?" Yang Jinxing sneered and said, "Who knows? Our patriarch of the human devil clan might be hiding nearby and looking at you as if you're an ant. He could kill you at any time. Really? The smile on Duan Lingtian's face grew even brighter. Since that's the case, I'll try to kill you, the patriarch of the human demon clan. Let's see if he can still keep his composure. As soon as he finished speaking, Duan Lingtian's aura suddenly changed, and a murderous aura swept out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A gust of wind blew in the air, causing Duan Lingtian's robes to flutter noisily. At this moment, Duan Lingtian, who was glaring at Yang Jinxing with a murderous aura, seemed to have transformed into a god of death. It was as though he would kill Yang Jinxing at any time. Just as Duan Lingtian's murderous aura was about to kill Yang Jinxing, a voice rang out. Duan Lingtian. Yang Jinxing's angry voice rang in the air. After I leave today, if you dare to touch anyone from the human devil clan, the human devil clan won't rest until you're dead. When I return, the old ancestor of the human devil clan will definitely kill you and annihilate the entire Azure Cloud Mansion. Yang Jinxing's voice rang in the air like a thunderclap. It was filled with ruthlessness. Oh no. As soon as Yang Jinxing finished speaking, Duan Lingtian's divine consciousness trembled as though he had sensed something. Horror dawned on him immediately. You're seeking death. Without any hesitation, Duan Lingtian's celestial origin energy that was mixed with saint origin surged out of his body through his 99 saint veins and transformed into tens of thousands of sword rays. During this process, Duan Lingtian had also transformed into a part of the tens of thousands of sword rays. In just a blink of an eye, the tens of thousands of sword rays gathered and transformed into a 3-foot-long white sword that hovered in the air. It emitted a terrifying aura as though it could destroy heaven and earth. Swoosh. As soon as the 3-foot-long white sword appeared, it suddenly swept across the air and left an inconspicuous sword ray in its wake. And it was this very inconspicuous sword light that whizzed out, as if it was an inch of the earth and the sky. In just a blink of an eye, it arrived at the space where Yang Jinxing was standing and tore a terrifying hole in the air. It was a bottomless tear in the void. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The tear in the void continued to extend until it tore apart the space where Yang Jinxing was standing and tore apart his body. At this moment, Yang Jinxing's body was shrouded in a blood-red flame. This was the technique Yang Jinxing had used as soon as he finished speaking. Rip. The void tore apart like a piece of paper. Yang Jinxing, who was torn apart, looked more like a human portrait on the paper. However, after Yang Jinxing's body was torn apart, it did not enter the tear in the void. Instead, it turned into two silhouettes that continued to fade until they disappeared. Swoosh. When Duan Lingtian saw this, his expression turned even more solemn when he reappeared. He actually managed to escape. What kind of technique is that? Duan Lingtian asked himself. When he discovered that something was amiss with Yang Jinxing, he did not hesitate to make a move. However, it was still too late. Yang Jinxing had escaped. Just now he seemed to have crushed a blood-red jade slip. Then a blood-red flame burned on his body. When I used the technique of body and sword as one, to cut apart his body and the void around him, he had already escaped. Not only did Yang Jinxing escape, but he also completely got rid of Duan Lingtian's divine sense. It was as though he had disappeared into thin air. Just as Duan Lingtian was surprised by Yang Jinxing's escape technique. Blood-red flame escape talisman. A cry of surprise rang out. Chapter 2332. Fiery Blood Escape Talisman? Duan Lingtian's sharp eyes instantly landed on the person who had exclaimed in surprise. This person was none other than Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace. He was also the person who had defeated Duan Lingtian with just a flick of his finger 3 years ago. Yuan Haochen could tell Duan Lingtian did not know what the Fiery Blood Escape Talisman was. He was afraid of Duan Lingtian, so he quickly explained the talisman to Duan Lingtian. The Blood Flame Escape Talisman is a kind of jade talisman that our Devil Clan's formation masters spent a lot of precious materials and paid a huge price to inscribe. The person who crushes it will ignite the teleportation blood flame on his body. In just a blink of an eye, he'll be transported 100,000 miles away. During this process, the Fiery Blood Escape Talisman will cut off all divine consciousness from the outside world, so the person who crushed the talisman will be able to leave unscathed. There are only a few Fiery Blood Escape Talismans in the Devil Clans. I didn't expect Lord Patriarch of the Human Devil Clan would have one. Yuan Haochen looked at Duan Lingtian anxiously after he finished his explanation. His eyes were filled with dread. 3 years ago, he had easily defeated Duan Lingtian with just a flick of his finger. However, after 3 years, Duan Lingtian was much stronger than him. 3 tribulation bodiless celestials were much stronger than eminent celestials. Even such a person was killed by Duanling Tian in just a single blow, let alone Yuan Haochen who had just become an eminent celestial. Most importantly, Duanling Tian was still alive. At this moment, even Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, had no choice but to use the precious blood flame escape talisman to escape from the purple-clad young man. Although Lord Patriarch has escaped, it'll still take a long time for him to return to the Human Devil clan even if he manages to contact the old ancestor. With this thought in mind, Yuan Haochen felt as though his life was no longer in his hands. No wonder the connection between him and my divine consciousness was severed. Duanling Tian nodded when he heard Yuan Haochen's words. He could not help but sigh inwardly. I didn't expect the devil clans to have such a talisman. At this moment, Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, is nowhere to be found. It's almost impossible to find him. Duanling Tian was aware of this. Moreover, after Yang Zhenxing left, he must have contacted the old ancestor of the Devil clan. Based on what he said, the old ancestor of the Human Devil clan is most likely a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial or a celestial or Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian celestial then a celestial. Celestial or celestial or celestial or celestial or celestial. I'm no match for a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. Before Yang Zhenxing manages to contact the old ancestor of the Human Devil clan, I have to deal with this matter and leave as soon as possible. Now this place is still a place of trouble for me. Duanling Tian no longer hesitated when he thought about this. He looked at Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, coldly. Apart from that, the killing intent he had for Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, shifted to Yuan Haochen as soon as Yang Zhenxing fled. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A gentle breeze blew in all directions, and one could vaguely hear the faint sound of the wind whistling. The sound of wind whistling could be heard because the atmosphere was too calm. It was so calm that it was eerie. As Duanling Tian's killing intent swept toward Yuan Haochen, the people in the surroundings could not help but frown. Everyone present seemed to be able to clearly smell the thick smell of gunpowder that permeated the air. Yuan Haochen's forehead was drenched in cold sweat. Apart from fear, there was also a hint of fear in his eyes as he looked at Duanling Tian. 3 years ago, he had easily defeated the purple-clad young man with just a flick of his finger. 3 years later, he did not even have the courage to make a move against the purple-clad young man. Palace Master Yuan, now that Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, has fled and his master, Liao Naijiang, is dead, it's time for us to settle the score. Duanling Tian stared at Yuan Haochen as he spoke in a tone that was neither fast nor slow. Duanling Tian's calm words struck Yuan Haochen like a bolt from the blue. Yuan Haochen shuddered in fear. The cold sweat that appeared on his forehead also flowed down as if it was free of charge. Duanling Tian's robe fluttered when he saw Yuan Haochen remain silent. He raised his right hand, preparing to kill Yuan Haochen with a flip of his hand. With his current strength, he could indeed kill Yuan Haochen with a flip of his hand. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Duanling Tian's celestial origin energy that was mixed with saint origin energy surged out of his body through his 99 saint veins and into his hand in just a blink of an eye. Please show mercy. A familiar female voice rang in the air. It was a voice that sounded familiar to Duanling Tian. It was a voice that Duanling Tian heard. At the same time, a figure appeared in front of Duanling Tian's eyes. A familiar figure appeared in front of Yuan Haochen. It was a white-robed woman with a graceful figure and an icy aura emanating from her entire body. The white-clad woman stood there like an ice goddess. She was so pure that she could not be profaned. At this moment, a hint of pleading could be seen in her eyes as she looked at Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian frowned. The majestic power that was already in his hand didn't whiz out immediately. Instead, he held it in his hand and kept flashing like lightning. At the same time, it caused the surrounding space to tremble. Upon closer inspection, one could see that there were tiny cracks in the air. In this turbulent void, one could vaguely see tiny cracks in the void. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see them. It's Huang Wenjing, the most beautiful woman in the Human Devil clan. She's the last disciple of Palace Master Yuan from the Wandering Saint Palace. Why is she standing out now? Does she have a death wish? She's standing in front of Duanling Tian when he's about to kill Palace Master Yuan. She's overestimating herself. Who's going to die if she doesn't? The people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls shook their heads when they saw Huang Wenjing standing in front of Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, to protect Yuan Haochen. However, she still dares to stand out and protect her master at such a critical moment even though she knows she's going to die. At least Palace Master Yuan didn't dote on her for nothing. Indeed. If I have such a disciple, I'll have no regrets even if I die. It's a pity that such a peerless beauty is about to perish here. Many people felt sorry for Huang Wenjing, little junior sister. Yun Fuyi looked at Huang Wenjing with an embarrassed expression on his face. He felt like he was the great senior brother for nothing. However, at this moment, due to his fear of Duanling Tian, his body felt as though it was filled with lead. He could not move at all. He could not move at all, let alone stand in front of his master to protect him like his little junior sister. Wenjing, stand back. At this time, Yuan Haochen had also regained his senses. When he saw his most beloved disciple standing in front of him and protecting him, he felt a burst of warmth in his heart. At the same time, he could not help but shout out loudly. At this moment, Yuan Haochen's tone was full of sternness. In Yuan Haochen's opinion, Huang Wenjing had always been obedient. This closed-door disciple of his had always been obedient. After he shouted at her, she would definitely retreat in time. However, he did not expect Huang Wenjing would not react this way. As his voice fell, his last disciple did not move at all. He was still standing in front of him, protecting him firmly behind him. Yuan Haochen's heart was in his mouth when he thought Duanling Tian would attack Huang Wenjing. Whoosh! It was as though a gust of wind had blown past. Duanling Tian, who was standing far away, turned into a silhouette and disappeared. At the same time Duanling Tian turned into a silhouette, another figure appeared in front of Yuan Haochen and behind Huang Wenjing. It was none other than Duanling Tian who appeared in front of Yuan Haochen at a ridiculously fast speed. Duanling Tian, every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. Today's matter is purely between you and me. It has nothing to do with my disciple. Yuan Haochen sighed in relief when he saw Duanling Tian did not attack Huang Wenjing after he appeared in front of him. At the same time he said in a deep voice, I believe with your current strength, you won't make things difficult for a weak woman. Both of you have a deep relationship as master and disciple. Duanling Tian said calmly as his eyes flashed. Please, don't kill my master. At the same time, Huang Wenjing, who had regained her senses, turned to look at Duanling Tian's back and said anxiously. A hint of pleading could be heard in her voice. He's too fast. Even Palace Master Yuan didn't seem to be able to react in time. With Duanling Tian's current strength, killing a three-tribulation bodiless celestial is as easy as killing a chicken. It's easy for him to kill Palace Master Yuan, who has just become an eminent celestial. Once Palace Master Yuan dies, do you think Duanling Tian will let us go? When the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls saw Duanling Tian appearing in front of Yuan Haochen and was about to kill Yuan Haochen, they could not help but feel anxious. Chapter 23:33. Everyone present on the scene had witnessed Duanling Tian's strength. Even the patriarch of the Human Devil Clan's master, Liao Nai Jiang, a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial, was killed by Duanling Tian with just a blow. Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, would not be able to escape death today. After Yuan Haochen's death, they began to wonder if Duanling Tian would make a move on them. It made them feel anxious and uneasy. Just when everyone thought Duanling Tian was going to kill Yuan Haochen, Duanling Tian's expression changed. Duanling Tian's voice sounded in a timely manner, and it was filled with indifference. Yuan Haochen, I'll give you 2 choices now. The first choice is to swear on the lightning penalty oath and take me as your master. In the future I'll be your leader. Second, you'll die. As soon as Duanling Tian finished speaking, everyone present on the scene was stunned. Based on Duanling Tian's words, it seemed like Duanling Tian intended to kill Yuan Haochen. Duanling Tian intended to let Yuan Haochen live? Thank you. Huang Wenjing sighed in relief when she heard Duanling Tian's words. She quickly expressed her gratitude to Duanling Tian. Because she knew, this was the biggest concession Duanling Tian could make. Although it was slightly insulting to ask her master to acknowledge Duanling Tian as his master. However, when Huang Wenjing recalled Duanling Tian's strength and his ability to raise the grade of one's innate spiritual root, she felt that Duanling Tian was not weak at all. Duanling Tian was more than qualified to be her master's master. There's no need to thank me. You've promised to protect my family if I die, so I owe you a favor. Even if your master survives and acknowledges me as his master, it's still better than killing him. Duanling Tian replied indifferently when he heard Huang Wenjing's words. His words were spoken casually, as if he was talking about an unimportant matter. As a matter of fact, this was indeed an insignificant matter to him. Duan Lingtian's words were also true. After all, it was better for him to not kill Yuan Haochen and let Yuan Haochen acknowledge him as his master than to kill Yuan Haochen. No matter what, Yuan Haochen was still an eminent celestial. If Yuan Haochen swore on the lightning penalty oath to serve him, he would gain a lot of help. At the same time, he would be able to control the Wandering Saint Palace. Whoosh. Upon hearing Huang Wenjing thanking Duan Lingtian and hearing Duan Lingtian's words, an uproar broke out among the crowd. I was wondering why Duan Lingtian would suddenly decide to spare Palace Master Yuan Haochen. As it turns out, he owes Huang Wenjing a favor. To think I thought Huang Wenjing was seeking death by standing up for Palace Master Yuan. I didn't think she would be able to convince Duan Lingtian to spare Palace Master Yuan's life. However, Duan Lingtian's suggestion to Palace Master Yuan is too difficult. He actually wants Palace Master Yuan to swear on the lightning penalty oath to acknowledge him as his master. Difficult? Think about it, with Duan Lingtian's current strength, killing Palace Master Yuan would be as easy as killing a chicken. Although his request is difficult, there's no doubt it's the best he can do. I personally think it's reasonable. If I were him, I'd definitely acknowledge him as my master. After all, once I die, I'll lose everything. Many people discussed among themselves. Some of them thought Duan Lingtian's request was too much, but most of them thought it was reasonable for Duan Lingtian to make such a request. So that's how it is. In the distance, Gan Ruyan's expression softened as realization dawned on her. Previously, when she saw Duan Lingtian sparing the life of the Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace, she had thought Duan Lingtian had shown mercy because he coveted the beauty of Huang Wenjing, the Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace's direct disciple. However, when she heard Duan Lingtian's words, she realized she had misunderstood Duan Lingtian. As it turned out, Huang Wenjing had once promised Duan Lingtian that she would protect Palace Master Yuan's family. She promised to protect his family after he died. It was not difficult for her to guess who Duan Lingtian's family was. It was definitely her sister, her niece, and Peng Lai. Unlike Gan Ruyan, Ker's expression remained unchanged from the beginning until the end. It was as though she supported Duan Lingtian's decision unconditionally. Acknowledge him as my master? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Yuan Haochen was shocked by the promise his direct disciple had made to Duan Lingtian. At the same time, he realized Duan Lingtian had spared his life because of his direct disciple. However, he could not make up his mind to acknowledge Duan Lingtian as his master. After all, he was the Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace, one of the 9 great forces in the Human Devil clan, the 3 palaces and 6 halls. Moreover, he had become an eminent celestial. Naturally, he was reluctant to acknowledge a human as his master. I can either acknowledge him as my master or die. However, Yuan Haochen could not help but feel conflicted since he only had 2 choices. I'll give you the span of 3 breaths. If you don't make a decision after 3 breaths, I'll kill you. Duan Lingtian frowned when he saw Yuan Haochen's hesitation. He did not want to waste time on this matter, so he urged Yuan Haochen to hurry up. His voice was filled with impatience. Master. Huang Wenjing, who was afraid her master would rather die than submit, became anxious as well. Her expression changed again and again. As soon as Duan Lingtian spoke, the atmosphere changed again. The smell of gunpowder became even more intense, as though it would explode at any moment. Everyone's eyes shifted to Yuan Haochen in unison. Within the gazes of the group of people, there was understanding, doubt, bewilderment, and confusion. At this moment, silence spoke louder than words. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on Yuan Haochen. Yuan Haochen? Yuan Haochen gritted his teeth and finally made up his mind. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he swore on the lightning penalty oath to acknowledge Duan Lingtian as his master and serve Duan Lingtian. In the end, the Palace Master of the Wandering Saint Palace from the Human Devil clan finally compromised. However, no one made fun of him for compromising because everyone knew that this was an irresistible trend. Phew. Huang Wenjing and the others from the Wandering Saint Palace heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Yuan Haochen swearing on the lightning penalty oath and acknowledging Duan Lingtian as his master. Huang Wenjing heaved a sigh of relief because she knew her master had escaped death. The others from the Wandering Saint Palace heaved a sigh of relief because they knew Duan Lingtian would not make things difficult for them since their palace master had acknowledged Duan Lingtian as his master. After Yuan Haochen swore on the lightning penalty oath, Duan Lingtian shifted his gaze away from him and looked at the 7 leaders from the 1 palace and 6 halls. As soon as Duan Lingtian's gaze landed on the 7 leaders of the 1 palace and 6 halls, his gaze suddenly turned as sharp as a blade. It was as though it could tear everything apart. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The expressions of the 7 leaders from the 1 palace and 6 halls changed drastically when they saw Duan Lingtian's gaze. Following that, the Hall Master of Azure Sheen Hall took the lead and swore on the lightning penalty oath to acknowledge Duan Lingtian as his master. It was as though he was afraid he would anger Duan Lingtian if he swore on the lightning penalty oath too late. With someone taking the lead, the remaining 6 people no longer hesitated and swore on the lightning penalty oath to acknowledge Duan Lingtian as their master. What a joke. Even Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, who was an eminent celestial, had sworn on the lightning penalty oath to acknowledge Duan Lingtian as his master. Unless they wanted to die, they had no other choice. The people from the 1 palace and 6 halls heaved a sigh of relief when they saw their palace masters and hall masters swearing to acknowledge the godlike man as their master. Only the high-ranking officials of Great Spirit Palace, including Xing Yuanba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, were shocked when they saw Duan Lingtian did not look at them at all. Lord Duan Lingtian. Finally, Xing Yuanba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, stepped forward and looked at Duan Lingtian anxiously. He said respectfully, "The Great Spirit Palace is also willing to acknowledge you as our master, Lord Duan Lingtian." At this moment, this tall and muscular man, the strongest person below the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage in the Human Devil clan, had to lower his head in front of Duan Lingtian. Xing Yuanba stepped forward because he had always been the 2nd most powerful person in the Great Spirit Palace. Now that Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, was dead, it was only natural that he was the one in charge of the Great Spirit Palace. Great Spirit Palace? At this moment, Duan Lingtian glanced at Xing Yuanba lazily and said indifferently, "If anyone from the Great Spirit Palace can provide me with any useful information about the whereabouts of the people from the Azure Cloud Mansion, I'll spare their lives. Otherwise, all of you can go with Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace. At least, you can accompany him on the road to hell." When Duan Lingtian finished speaking, his tone was as calm as ever. It was as though he was talking about something ordinary. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, the expressions of the people from the Great Spirit Palace changed drastically. Run. As soon as Xing Yuanba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, heard Duan Lingtian's words, he knew he would not be able to escape death if he continued to stay here. For this reason, he ordered the high-ranking officials from the Great Spirit Palace to flee. Useful information about the whereabouts of the people from the Azure Cloud Mansion? How would they know? If they knew, they would have told Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, and the people from the Azure Cloud Mansion would have been killed by them. At this moment, Xing Yuanba was still hoping for a fluke. If the people from the Great Spirit Palace fled in different directions, perhaps 1 or 2 of them would be able to escape. He might even be one of them. As it turned out, Xing Yuanba was too naive. Perhaps he had underestimated Duan Lingtian's current strength. As soon as Xing Yuanba shouted, the people from the Great Spirit Palace began to make their moves, trying to escape. Chapter 23-34. Swoosh, swoosh. Duan Lingtian's trembling arms stretched out horizontally like 2 dragons whistling out. When they seemed to have reached their limit, they finally retracted in front of him in a flash of lightning. During this process, boom, 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 boom. Wherever Duan Lingtian's arms that were suffused with vast and majestic energy passed, the air would tremble and the sound of air exploding would ring out continuously. At this moment, the air in front of him seemed to have been sucked dry by him. Bang. In the end, Duan Lingtian's arms collided in front of him. To be more precise, the 2 palms collided with each other, causing a deafening sound to reverberate in the air. It was precisely this loud noise that caused a few small black snake-like cracks to appear in the void in front of Duan Lingtian. They looked extremely agile. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, with Duan Lingtian's palms as the center, the sound of the air shaking reverberated in the air. A small mushroom cloud also appeared following after that. As soon as the mushroom cloud appeared, it bloomed and set off a majestic shockwave that swept in all directions. It was as though it was an indiscriminate group attack. However, in the face of this majestic shockwave that swept out like a group attack, the people present did not seem to notice it at all. This was because their attention was completely focused on the group of people from Great Spirit Palace. When Duan Lingtian extended his arms and quickly pulled them back, the crowd saw that Duan Lingtian's eyes were shining brightly. Suddenly, two silhouettes of gigantic palms appeared out of thin air on both sides of the air where the group of people from Great Spirit Palace was. As soon as the two silhouettes of gigantic palms appeared, they charged toward the group of people from Great Spirit Palace with an earth-shattering aura. It was a pincer attack. All this happened in the blink of an eye. The group of people from the Great Spirit Palace, including Xing Yuanba, the Vice Palace Master, did not even have the time to react before the two palms that resembled the hands of a god appeared on both sides of the void where they were standing. Attacking them from the left and right, the terrifying power caused them to tremble in fear. No! Xing Yuanba was the first to react. His pupils shrank, and his face was filled with despair as he let out a sorrowful roar. It was as if doomsday had arrived. Although the rest of the people from Great Spirit Palace did not have time to cry out, the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls could clearly see the changes in their expressions. Their faces were filled with fear and despair. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Bang! At the same time when Duan Ling Tian's palms joined together, the palms that seemed like the hands of a god joined together as well. During this process, the group of people from Great Spirit Palace, including Xing Yuanba, the Vice Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, was crushed by the pair of gigantic palms. In front of the pair of gigantic palms, the group of people from Great Spirit Palace was like a group of ants. They did not even have the strength to fight back before they were crushed. Almost as soon as the pair of gigantic palms collided, boom! An earth-shattering explosion reverberated in the air. In just a blink of an eye, the gigantic palms transformed into a gigantic mushroom cloud. It was a shocking sight to behold. When the mushroom cloud bloomed, the group of people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls who were spectating could clearly see that the mushroom cloud in the sky had turned gray. The originally gray mushroom cloud was actually dyed with a bloody mist. It was like the finishing touch, decorating the mushroom cloud with an unusually gorgeous and eye-catching appearance. However, not many people were truly appreciative of this beautiful and dazzling scene. Most of them could not help but feel their hearts twitching. In just a blink of an eye, the group of high-ranking officials from Great Spirit Palace had been killed by the godlike man. Moreover, the man did not even move. He merely stood in the same spot and casually clapped his palms together. Boom, 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 boom. A series of earth-shattering explosions reverberated in the air. It was impossible to tell if it was the sound of air exploding or the sound of energy colliding. Meanwhile, as the shockwave that surged out from the point where Duan Ling Tian's palms collided raged in the air, waves of majestic and vast shockwaves also surged out from the place where the 2 gigantic palms collided as though they were the hands of a god. It was as though they had swept through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. After a few moments, run. Among the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls, the weakest ones were the disciples from Wandering Saint Palace. At this moment, they were either injured by the shockwaves or screaming in pain as they fled into the distance. As for the high-ranking officials from the 3 palaces and 6 halls, they relied on their own strength to withstand the shockwaves. After a few moments, the shockwaves finally dissipated. At this moment, the space in front of Duan Ling Tian and the space where the people from the Great Spirit Palace were standing was riddled with cracks that resembled tiny black snakes. It was as though a piece of paper was being cut again and again. These cracks were the result of Duan Ling Tian's casual attack that had killed the people from Great Spirit Palace. He had killed the high-ranking officials from Great Spirit Palace with just a flip of his palm. This was what Duan Ling Tian wanted to show to the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls. He wanted to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. Although he had killed Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, and Liao Nai Jiang, a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial, and forced Yang Jinxing, the patriarch of the human devil clan, to flee, it was not a shocking scene. For this reason, he had spent a lot of effort to kill the high-ranking officials from Great Spirit Palace with just a casual attack. He wanted to use the blood of the high-ranking officials from Great Spirit Palace to intimidate the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls. The reason Duan Ling Tian had chosen to kill the people from Great Spirit Palace was, naturally, because of Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, whom he had killed earlier. He did not have a good impression of Great Spirit Palace because of Shi Nanfeng. Fortunately, the people from Great Spirit Palace did not know what Duan Ling Tian was thinking. Otherwise, they would feel that they had died unjustly. The effect seems to be quite good. Duan Ling Tian calmly glanced at his surroundings. He could see that there were many people around him. He could see the fear in the eyes of the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls when they looked at him again. It was as though he was the unparalleled demon king. This was what Duan Ling Tian wanted. For the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls, this was a day they would never forget for the rest of their lives. The godlike human powerhouse had killed Shi Nanfeng, the palace master of Great Spirit Palace, and killed the master of the patriarch of the human devil clan, Liao Nai Jiang, a 3-tribulation bodiless celestial. He had even forced the patriarch of the human devil clan to crush the fiery blood evasion talisman to escape. That was not all. Later on, this human expert stood motionless on the spot. With just a slight movement of his hands, he obliterated a group of Great Spirit Palace higher-ups in the distant void. The high-ranking officials from Great Spirit Palace were at least at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage. One of them was even widely acknowledged as the strongest person below the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage in the human devil clan. However, this group of people was killed by the human powerhouse with just a flip of his hand. Duan Lingtian. At this moment, the name of this godlike human powerhouse kept echoing in the hearts of the people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls. It did not stop even after a long time. Just when everyone present was looking at Duan Lingtian in awe, Duan Lingtian's expression changed drastically. Yuan Haochen. Duan Lingtian glanced at Yuan Haochen before he looked at the palace master of Crimson Blaze Palace, the hall master of Azure Sheen Hall, and the other leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls. From today onward, I don't care if you ask your subordinates to swear on the lightning penalty oath or use some other method. I don't want anyone here who isn't under your control from today onward. A hint of sternness could be heard in Duan Lingtian's voice when he spoke. Yes, master. Yes, master. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Yuan Haochen and the other leaders' hearts skipped a beat. Currently, with the lightning penalty oath, Yuan Haochen and the others did not dare to disobey Duan Lingtian. They had no choice but to obey Duan Lingtian's orders. Apart from that, I hope the 7 of you can control the entire human devil clan as soon as possible. At the very least, all the powerhouses at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage and above must be under your control. I don't care what method you use, I just want results. Duan Lingtian continued to give out orders. Yuan Haochen and the others quickly responded when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. Lastly, send people you trust to gather information about the Azure Cloud Mansion. Inform me as soon as you receive any news. I'll give each of you a jade token inscribed with saint inscriptions. As long as you crush it, I'll be able to sense it and rush back to the human devil clan's territory. Duan Lingtian said. Master, why you're leaving? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Yuan Haochen and the others realized Duan Lingtian intended to leave. If I don't leave, am I supposed to wait for Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the human devil clan, to invite the old ancestor of the human devil clan back? Duan Lingtian said indifferently, apart from that, I have some matters to attend to in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land as well. Since I'm in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, you won't be able to contact me using the communication jade token. However, if you crush the detection jade token that I'll give you later, you'll be able to sense me even if I'm in the upper province. At that time, I'll tear open the space barrier and return to the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Once I return to the lower province, we'll communicate through the voice transmission jade token. When Duan Lingtian reached the end of his sentence, he raised his hand and took out a few dozen jade tokens before he distributed them to Yuan Haochen and the others. These jade tokens were the detection jade tokens that he had inscribed when he was inscribing saint inscriptions. Chapter 23:35. Currently, the jade tokens that Duan Lingtian had given to the leaders of the human devil clan, including Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, were paired with the jade tokens in his possession. As long as one of the jade slips in the hands of Yuan Haochen and the others shattered, a matching jade slip in the batch of jade slips in his hands would also shatter. Even if he was in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land while Yuan Haochen and the others were in the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the connection between the 2 jade tokens would not be severed. If one was destroyed, the other would be destroyed. I'll definitely repay you for the favor I owe you in the future. After handing the jade tokens to Yuan Haochen and the other leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls, Duan Lingtian looked at Huang Wenjing and nodded with a faint smile on his face. Huang Wenjing had a complicated expression on her face when she heard this. She could not help but feel disappointed. Both of them, were they really so distant from each other? However, when she thought about Duan Lingtian's current strength and the gap between them, she could not help but feel a little ashamed. She could only nod silently. However, she was not happy at all. Even when the envious gazes swept over from the surroundings and landed on her, she completely turned a blind eye to them. After all, she did not care about the favor he owed her. She only cared about him as a person. She and him are my friends. Duan Lingtian looked at Yuan Haochen and the other leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls before he pointed at Huang Wenjing and Huang Qiling. Will definitely take good care of Master's friends. The palace master of Crimson Blaze Palace said immediately. At the same time, Yuan Haochen and the others also expressed their stance. Yuan Haochen in particular, was the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace. Since Huang Wenjing and Huang Qiling were from the Wandering Saint Palace, it was only natural that he would take good care of them. Moreover, Huang Wenjing was his favorite disciple. Even if Duan Lingtian did not say anything, he would still take good care of her. Huang Qiling is really lucky. From now on, Huang Qiling's status in the Wandering Saint Palace will be higher than his father's. Of course. After all, Lord Duan Lingtian has personally asked Lord Palace Master to take care of him. Everyone has different fate. Why am I not as lucky as him? The elders and disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace looked at Huang Qiling were filled with envy and jealousy. Huang Wenjing was the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, had always been the palace master's father's favorite disciple. Therefore they didn't feel anything when Huang Wenjing received special treatment. However, Huang Qiling's father's father. Although Huang Qiling was the son of the vice palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, his father was the weakest among the vice palace masters of Wandering Saint Palace. Moreover, Huang Qiling had failed to live up to expectations. For this reason, even the descendants of the Wandering Saint Palace's elders dared to openly mock him. For example, the descendants of the 3 Wandering Saint Palace's elders who were killed by Duan Lingtian. However, from today onward, even the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace would not dare to offend Huang Qiling due to his relationship with Duan Lingtian. Huang Qiling could be said to have soared into the sky. How could the elders and disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace not be jealous of him? Good. Huang Qiling's father, who was the weakest among the vice palace masters of Wandering Saint Palace, looked at Huang Qiling excitedly. He did not know what to say. It was as though Duan Lingtian had asked Yuan Haochen and the others to take care of him instead of his son. At this moment he felt proud to have such a son. Brother Lingtian. When Huang Qiling saw Duan Lingtian did not forget about him, he was so touched that his eyes turned red. His body began to tremble slightly as well. Also there's Peng Lai. Duan Lingtian looked at Yuan Haochen and pointed at Peng Lai, the former elder of Wandering Saint Palace who was now regarded as a traitor. He said indifferently, Peng Lai is the first person to follow me. You should know what to do, right? Yuan Haochen's heart skipped a beat as soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking. Then he said loudly, from today onward, Peng Lai will be the vice palace master of Wandering Saint Palace. Anyone who sees him in the Wandering Saint Palace will have to respect him as though he's the vice palace master of Wandering Saint Palace. If anyone dares to disrespect vice palace master Peng, don't blame me, Yuan Haochen, for not showing any mercy. Yuan Haochen's tone turned cold when he finished speaking. As an eminent celestial, his tone was so cold that it made everyone feel as though winter had arrived. If anyone dares to disrespect vice palace master Peng, they'll be making an enemy out of the Crimson Blaze Palace as well. Almost as soon as Yuan Haochen's voice fell, the palace master of the Scarlet Blaze Palace expressed his stance, his tone also extremely cold. With the palace master of the Crimson Blaze Palace taking the lead, the hall masters of the other 6 halls, including Qingxia Hall, immediately followed suit. The elders from the Wandering Saint Palace looked at Peng Lai with envy and jealousy in their eyes. Master? Peng Lai was slightly disappointed when he realized his master did not intend to bring him away. However, he was also touched by the path Duan Lingtian had paved for him before he left. This was because he knew Duan Lingtian's words were true. With his master's words, Peng Lai's status in the Wandering Saint Palace and the Human Devil clan would no longer be ordinary. Let's go. As soon as Duan Lingtian's calm voice entered everyone's ears, he appeared next to Ke, Duan Xiling and Gan Ruyen in just a flash. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian and the 3 women disappeared before everyone's eyes. Farewell, master. At the same time, the leaders of the 3 palaces and 6 halls, including Yuan Haochen, the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace, bid farewell to Duan Lingtian. Farewell, Lord Duan Lingtian. Farewell, Lord Duan Lingtian. Apart from that, the other people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls also bid farewell to Duan Lingtian. They did not care if Duan Lingtian, who had vanished before their eyes, could hear them or not. He left just like that? When Duan Lingtian disappeared before Huang Wenjing's eyes, her beautiful eyes dimmed. Her heart felt empty as though she had lost something important. From now on, the Human Devil clan will have the surname Duan. Many people from the 3 palaces and 6 halls thought to themselves after Duan Ling Tian left. Meanwhile, after Duan Ling Tian left the Wandering Saint Palace's estate with Ke, Duan Si Ling and Gan Ru Yen, he did not stop at all as he left the Human Devil Saint City. After leaving the Human Devil Holy City, he flew towards the north. It was as though he already had a destination in mind. Along the way, Duan Ling Tian's expression was slightly tense as a thought appeared in his mind. With my current strength, it won't be difficult for me to tear the void apart if I cast the elementary devouring tactic. However, if I want to return to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, I'll have to find the spatial barrier between the upper province and the lower province. Only by finding the location of the spatial barrier will I be able to tear the spatial barrier apart and return to the upper realm through the spatial barrier. The most direct way to find the space barrier is to go to the place where the former domain teleportation array was located. Not only is it the closest place to the spatial barrier between the land of exile and the mundane realm, but it's also the closest place to the spatial barrier between the Debussyi subterranean and the lower province. For this reason, Duan Ling Tian had decided to head north after leaving the Human Devil Saint City. This was because the inter-province transportation formation was located in that direction. After leaving the lower province and returning to the upper province, it's time for me to avenge Hua Lao. Unknowingly, Duan Ling Tian's eyes were blazing with fury that seemed capable of incinerating everything. His rage was directed at Tang Xian, the sect leader of Zoroastrianism, who was in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Previously it was because of Tang Xian, the sect leader of Fire Worship sect, that Elder Hua had sacrificed his own life to send him, his wife, and his daughter back to the lower province so that they could escape from death in Tang Xian's hands. He swore he would avenge Tang Xian. Moreover, when he realized he was strong enough to tear the void apart and tear the spatial barrier apart, the first thing he did was to return to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. The first thought that appeared in his mind was to return to the upper province and kill Tang Xian, the sect leader of Zoroastrianism, to avenge Hua Lao. After he had temporarily dealt with the Human Devil clan, the first thing he wanted to do was to return to the upper province to avenge Hua Lao. Although there were still many things he needed to do in the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, he wanted to search for his family. He wanted to find his parents, his wife, Li Fei, his son, Duan Yen Tian, and his family and friends. Another example was that with his current strength, he could sweep through all the major devil clans and kill all the experts of the major devil clans before the loose immortals of the devil clan could react. He could do his part for the human race. However, in the end he still decided to return to the upper province to avenge Hua Lao. Father, mother, and the others must have gone into hiding. It won't be easy for me to find them. For this reason, Duan Ling Tian had asked Yuan Haochen and the others to mobilize the Human Devil clan to search for his parents, wife, and children. After all, there was strength in numbers. Who knew when the devil clans would discover the whereabouts of his parents, wife, and children? If he went alone, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Chapter 2336. The reason Duan Ling Tian did not kill all the powerhouses in the devil clans was because of this reason. After all, Duan Ling Tian was wary of the forefather of the Human Devil clan. Although the Human Devil clan was under Duan Ling Tian's control after the patriarch of the Human Devil clan had crushed the fiery blood evasion talisman and escaped, Duan Ling Tian did not dare to offend the patriarch of the Human Devil clan. However, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, Yang Jinxing, and the other bodiless celestials from the Human Devil clan were not included as well. After Yang Jinxing left, it was very likely that he would contact the forefather of the Human Devil clan who was suspected to be a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial and ask him to kill him. If he continued to stay in the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the forefather of the Human Devil clan might be able to find him even if he did not stay in the Human Devil clan's territory. For this reason, Duan Ling Tian decided to leave as soon as possible. Although my current strength can still be improved, it's not the improvement of my cultivation, martial techniques, or divine abilities. It's the improvement of the Supreme Sword Dao mental cultivation technique, the Sovereign Heart Sword. Duan Ling Tian was well aware of his current situation. Currently he was an eminent celestial. It could be said that he stood at the peak of ordinary cultivators in the mundane realm. The reason he was called an ordinary cultivator was because he walked the path of cultivation that was different from the path of a bodiless celestial. Bodiless celestials were born after failing to pass the heavenly tribulation. They walked a different path, an extreme path. A 2 tribulation bodiless celestial strength was comparable to an ordinary eminent celestial. A 3 tribulation bodiless celestial was stronger than an eminent celestial. A 4 tribulation bodiless celestial was even stronger. As an eminent celestial, Duan Lingtian's strength was comparable to a 5 tribulation bodiless celestial or even a 6 tribulation bodiless celestial with the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, and the 4th stage of the Supreme Sword Dao mental cultivation method, the Sovereign Heart Sword. As an eminent celestial, Duan Lingtian's cultivation base had reached its limit. He was waiting for the celestial ascension force to ascend to the Devata realm. Now, if Duan Lingtian wanted to increase his strength, he could only rely on the Supreme Sword Dao mental cultivation technique, Sovereign Heart Sword. This was because the Sovereign Heart Sword had a 5th realm, which was also the last realm. Heart and sword is one. Once he comprehended the highest level of the Sovereign Heart Sword, Duan Lingtian's strength would rise to another level. Other than that, Duan Lingtian could only improve his other abilities slightly. However, since those divine abilities did not include the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, that he had comprehended to its peak, it did not increase his overall strength by much. Even if I comprehend the 5th stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the heart and sword is one, and comprehend the other divine abilities to their peak, I'm afraid my strength would only be comparable to a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial at most. This is also the limit of what I can achieve in the mundane realms. After all, I'm walking the normal path of cultivation and not the extreme path of a bodiless celestial. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. In other words, in this mundane realm, it's almost impossible for me to possess strength comparable to a 9 tribulation bodiless celestial or an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial. In fact, I might not even possess strength comparable to a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. Duan Lingtian could not help but smile wryly when he thought about this. To a certain extent, the mundane realm was different. Compared to the extreme path of a bodiless celestial, the normal path of cultivation was much more disadvantageous. However, the path of a bodiless celestial is even more difficult. More than 90% of bodiless celestials are killed by the heavenly tribulation. In short, there were gains and losses. Moreover, I don't think I'll be able to stay in this mundane realm for long. When I first became an eminent celestial, I didn't feel anything special. However, after I cast the elementary devouring tactic and devoured the heaven and earth spirit energy in the human devil saint city and the saint stones beneath the city, my strength has risen to its peak. However, I can clearly feel that there seems to be a mysterious force calling out to me from the unseen world. Perhaps, it's the celestial ascension force that allows eminent celestials to ascend to the Devata realms. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. It was precisely because of this that he vaguely realized that he wouldn't be able to stay in the mundane plane for long. For this reason he had to cherish his time in the mundane realm. Once the celestial ascension force arrived, he would have to ascend to the Devata realms no matter how strong he was. If I ascend to the Devata realms, I don't know when I'll be able to return. I must do my best to help my family and friends in the mundane realm before I ascend to the Devata realms. After all, if something happens to them after I ascend to the Devata realms, I won't be able to help them. Duan Lingtian's family and friends in the mundane realm were his biggest concerns before he ascended to the Devata realms. Especially Ker, Si Ling, Little Fei, Yen Tian and my parents. Before I ascend to the Devata realms, I must ensure their safety. Although it was difficult to do so, Duan Lingtian did not hesitate. He would do his best to ensure his family and friends would not encounter any danger in the mundane realm after he ascended to the Devata realms. Is that the inter-province transportation formation they set up? Before they knew it, Duan Lingtian had brought the 3 women to the location of the inter-province transportation formation in the Debussy subterranean. At the same time, Duan Lingtian discovered the new inter-province transportation formation that led to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint land was being set up by the devil clans. As a saint inscription master, Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness and discovered that the inter-province transportation formation was about to be completed. The inter-province transportation formation was about to be completed. Duan Lingtian snorted coldly as his celestial origin energy and saint origin surged in his body. Then, thousands of dazzling sword rays shot out of his body. After the tens of thousands of sword rays shot out of Duan Lingtian's body, they appeared around him and hovered in the air as they trembled slightly. Sword-wielding art. With just a thought in Duan Lingtian's mind, the tens of thousands of sword rays hovering in the air shot out again. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Tens of thousands of sword rays pierced through the air. Some of them were aimed at the incomplete inter-realm teleportation formation, while some were aimed at the so-called formation masters of the devil race who had set up the interrealm teleportation formation. As for the remaining sword rays, they targeted the devil clans in the surrounding area. After a while, no. When the incomplete inter-province transportation formation was destroyed by the hundreds and thousands of sword rays, cries of agony rose and fell in the area around the inter-province transportation formation. Even if there were a few devils at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage, they would not be able to escape death. What a joke. Currently, Duan Lingtian's strength was still at the same level as when he was in the Wandering Saint Palace's estate in the Human Devil Clan's territory. After leaving the Wandering Saint Palace and the Human Devil Clan's territory, although the effect of the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, had weakened, he would continue to use it whenever he felt the effect of the assist-type divine ability had weakened. He would continue to devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings to replenish the effect of the assist-type divine ability. In the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, he did not dare to be careless. Although it was tiring, he felt it was worth it. In other words, currently, although Duan Lingtian had only cast the sword-wielding art that was given to him by the third stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, its strength was comparable to a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. How could a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial or stronger devil clans who were at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage possibly withstand the attack of a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial? Devour. After killing the group of devils, Duan Lingtian did not remain idle. He immediately cast the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to devour the innate spiritual roots of his wife, Ker, who was standing next to him. Naturally, during this process, Duan Lingtian was extremely careful as well. He did not dare to let Ker upgrade her innate spiritual root to a black innate spiritual root before she was strong enough to face the heavenly tribulation. Why? You destroyed the inter-province transportation formation? Gan Ruyen asked curiously. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. Let's talk when we reach the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Duan Lingtian stopped Gan Ruyen when he saw she was about to say something. At the same time, he brought the 3 women to the area near the incomplete interdomain teleportation formation that he had destroyed. This should be the place. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian raised his hand and a white sword ray shot out of his palm. In the end, it seemed to have transformed into a real sword as it appeared in Duan Lingtian's hand. Now that I've condensed the energy in my body into a sword ray, it's even stronger than when I used the 1000 Inscription Saint Sword. This must be because a part of my energy is celestial origin energy, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. The celestial origin energy is superior to the mundane realm and belongs to the Devata realm. The 1000 Inscription Saint Sword is only a weapon from the mundane realm. Not only is it useless to those who possess celestial origin energy, but it's also a burden. After Duan Lingtian had become an eminent celestial, he realized this as well. Chapter 2337. With my current strength, I'm afraid even the super saint weapons in this mundane realm won't be of any help to me, Duan Lingtian thought to himself as he looked at the 3-foot-long blade in his hand that was formed from his celestial origin energy and saint origin. Currently, I'm afraid only celestial supreme treasures like the Jasper Celestial Sword and the Universe Ruler will be of help to me. Unfortunately, both the Jasper Celestial Sword and the Universe Ruler have been destroyed along with the 7 treasures Exquisite Pagoda and Hualao. Duan Lingtian could not help but feel a pang of heartache when he thought about the few celestial supreme treasures he once possessed. A hint of sadness could be seen in his eyes when he thought about Hualao. And behind this sadness, there was a fury that seemed to be able to burn down everything. Hualao, don't worry. I'll return to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land soon. Once I'm back, I'll head to the Zoroastrianism estate and kill Tang Xian, the sect leader of Zoroastrianism, to avenge you, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. At the same time, his gaze turned icy cold for no apparent reason. In the next moment, swoosh. Accompanied by a short-lived sword cry, the 3-foot-long blade in Duan Lingtian's hand flew out and transformed into a dazzling and sharp sword ray that pierced through the sky. It was as though a sword celestial had cast the unparalleled sword-wielding technique. A sword from the west, a celestial from beyond the heavens. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As the dazzling and sharp sword light pierced through the air, a strange buzzing sound that was similar to the buzzing of a bee could be heard in the void. Then rip. Accompanied by the sound of something being torn apart, a ferocious and terrifying spatial rift appeared out of thin air wherever the sword light passed. It was as if a piece of white paper had been torn open, and the gap was constantly swaying. The space barrier. It was torn apart by me just like that? Duan Lingtian discovered. Unlike the tear in the void that he usually tore, there was not a bottomless darkness behind the tear in the void. Instead, there was a green bamboo forest. It was as though there was another world behind the tear in the void. Duan Lingtian did not have to guess to know the green bamboo forest behind the tear in the void was the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. When Duan Lingtian saw the green bamboo forest behind the tear in the void, he did not hesitate. With a wave of his hand, he brought Ke, Duan Si Ling and Gan Ru Yen into the tear in the void and entered the green bamboo forest. As soon as Duan Lingtian brought the three women into the tear in the void, he felt as though he had arrived in another world. At the same time, he could clearly sense the changes in his surroundings. The most obvious change was the change in the density of the heaven and earth spirit energy in his surroundings. The density of the heaven and earth spirit energy here was much higher than the human devil saint city before he had devoured all the heaven and earth spirit energy. However, this was just an ordinary bamboo forest. The upper province. Duan Lingtian am back. Duan Lingtian could not help but exclaim inwardly when he sensed the dense heaven and earth spirit energy in his surroundings. He knew he had returned to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. Wow! What a dense heaven and earth spirit energy! Father, have we returned to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land? Duan Si Ling, who was standing next to Duan Lingtian, could not help but exclaim in surprise. She looked at Duan Lingtian and asked, "What's the matter?" "Yes, we've returned to the upper province." Duan Lingtian replied affectionately as he patted Duan Si Ling's head. "Father, you're so amazing. You tore a tear in the void just by tossing the sword in your hand. Moreover, you brought us back to the upper province in just a blink of an eye." Duan Si Ling said as she looked at Duan Lingtian with admiration. "With Si Ling's innate talent, you'll be as amazing as you are in the future." Duan Lingtian said with a smile on his face. "Really?" Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Duan Si Ling was so excited that her eyes shone brightly. It was as though she could already see herself tearing a tear in the void and returning to the upper province from the lower province. Duan Si Ling was still immersed in her fantasy when she heard Duan Lingtian's voice. "How did you become so strong?" Gan Ru Yen asked in shock and disbelief as she looked at Duan Lingtian. When she saw Duan Lingtian had become an eminent celestial, she did not think the patriarch of the Human Devil clan would be a match for Duan Lingtian even if the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was present. However, when the patriarch of the Human Devil clan's master, a three-tribulation bodiless celestial, appeared, her confidence in Duan Lingtian was shaken. However, the final result was completely out of her expectations. In just a single blow, Duan Lingtian had killed Liao Nai Jiang, a three-tribulation bodiless celestial, in a domineering manner. The increase in Duan Lingtian's strength had completely exceeded the scope of her understanding. In terms of grade, my assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, is superior to those in the mundane realms. Even in the Devata realms, my assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, is still an extraordinary divine ability. Duan Lingtian said, "This is the reason why I'm so strong after becoming an eminent celestial." Although Gan Ru Yen had vaguely guessed Duan Lingtian's words, she was certain her guess was correct when she heard Duan Lingtian's confirmation. "But, didn't you just break through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage not long ago? How did you suddenly attract the Celestial Ascension Tribulation?" Gan Ru Yen asked again. This problem was the biggest problem in her heart. She knew Duan Lingtian was not weak at all. She knew Duan Lingtian had only broken through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage not long ago. It was unbelievable that he attracted the Celestial Ascension Tribulation so soon after breaking through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. To be more precise, my cultivation base had just broken through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage on the day I attracted the Celestial Ascension Tribulation. Duan Lingtian said when he saw Ke looking at Gan Ru Yen. "What?" Naturally, his words shocked Gan Ru Yen. Even Kuer was quite shocked by this. The man in front of her had just broken through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, but he attracted the Celestial Ascension Tribulation on the same day? How's this possible? Gan Ru Yen could not help but exclaim when she regained her senses. She muttered to herself, "As far as I know, no matter who it is, after breaking through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, they'll only be able to attract the Celestial Ascension Tribulation after they've comprehended heaven and earth to its limit. Even if they want to use someone else's Celestial Ascension Tribulation to attract their own Celestial Ascension Tribulation, they'll still have to comprehend heaven and earth to its limit. Moreover, only those at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage or above can comprehend heaven and earth. Therefore, it's impossible for one to comprehend heaven and earth to its limit before breaking through to the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Ganru Yen muttered to herself. When she looked at Duan Lingtian again, her eyes were filled with confusion. Indeed, you're right. Although Ganru Yan's voice was not loud, Duan Lingtian heard her clearly. He nodded in response. Then Duan Lingtian said unhurriedly, to be honest, up until now, I'm still in a daze. A few days ago, I was able to attract the Celestial Ascension Tribulation on the same day I broke through to the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage because of the Sun Force. If it wasn't for the Sun Force, I wouldn't have been able to comprehend heaven and earth to its limit in just half a day. Duan Lingtian could not help but sigh emotionally when he reached the end of his sentence. Duan Lingtian still felt as though he was dreaming when he recalled what had happened that day. This was because it was too unrealistic. Sun Force? You managed to comprehend heaven and earth to its limit in just half a day? At this moment, Ganru Yen was not the only one looking at Duan Lingtian in a daze. Even Kerr and Duan Siling were shocked. Sun Force. Duan Lingtian began to explain the origin of the Sun Force. He recounted everything that had happened to him that day to Kerr, Duan Siling and Ganru Yen. He also recounted everything that had happened during the Celestial Ascension Tribulation to the three women without holding anything back. There was no need for him to hold anything back in front of the three women. So that's how it is. After listening to Duan Lingtian's words, the three women finally understood what was going on. Their beautiful faces were filled with shock and disbelief. After all, Duan Lingtian's experience in the past few days had completely overturned their understanding of heaven and earth. Kerr and the other two women were still in shock over Duan Lingtian's experience. Meanwhile, Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, had left the Debussy subterranean and returned to the land of exile. There was only one reason he had returned to the land of exile. The old ancestor of the Human Devil clan and the other bodiless celestials from the Human Devil clan were still in the land of exile. They had not returned to the lower province of the Dao Martial Saint land in the Saint Province realm that they had successfully invaded. Swoosh. After Yang Zhenxing returned to the land of exile, he flew as fast as he could to a certain place in the land of exile. As an eminent celestial, Yang Zhenxing's speed was extremely fast. As he flew above the land of exile, the void trembled as though it would cave in at any moment. About half a day later, Yang Zhenxing finally came to a halt. At this time he came before an ancient and weathered altar. He bowed respectfully to the altar. Chapter 23:38. The ancient altar occupied a vast area, as if it was boundless. Around the altar there were statues of all shapes and sizes. Some were humanoid while others were monstrous. All of them had different postures and expressions. Surrounded by these statues of different shapes like stars surrounding the moon, there was a huge statue of a human. This was a middle-aged man with a face full of curly beard. His messy hair draped over his shoulders. His figure was sturdy and tall, and his perfect muscles seemed to contain explosive strength. He stepped on a high platform with one foot. His upper body was bare, and he held an incomparably huge axe in his hand. He raised his head and looked at the sky. His eyes were filled with disdain, and he looked like he was going to compete with the heavens. Ancestor. Yang Zhenxing, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan, said respectfully. His voice reverberated in the air around the altar, lingering in the air. The reason why this happened was because the altar was surrounded by mountains. Because of this, there was such an echo. Who is making a ruckus here? A moment later, an ice-cold voice that contained anger resounded in a timely manner. It seemed to have come from all directions. Along with this voice, a figure appeared out of thin air above the altar like a ghost. It was a burly old man in a green robe. He had a strong back and a bare waist. The old man had a head of long gray hair draped behind his back. His pair of tiger-like eyebrows gave off a dignified aura, setting off his firm square face. Grand Master. The moment Yang Zhenxing saw the face of the burly old man, he could not help but cry out in surprise. In the next moment, he looked at the robust old man again as if he had seen a ghost. The face in front of him was not unfamiliar to him. Of course, this did not mean that he had seen this old man before. The reason why he could recognize the old man in front of him was because he had seen a portrait of the old man before, and that portrait was hanging in his master's room. Martial Granduncle? Hearing Yang Zhenxing's exclamation, the burly old man could not help but frown. This was because he did not know the person in front of him, and he was certain that this was the first time they had met. Martial granduncle, my master is Liao Naijiang. I'm my master's last disciple, Yang Jinxing. Yang Jinxing seemed to have seen the doubts of the sturdy old man, and he did not dare to hesitate. He immediately showed a humble expression and introduced himself respectfully. At this very moment, Yang Jinxing's heart was in turmoil. He had never imagined that his martial granduncle, who was also his master's martial uncle, was actually still alive. Didn't he fail his tribulation long ago? Counting the time. Presently, more than 4,000 years have passed since this martial granduncle failed to transcend the tribulation. In other words, he's a four-tribulation bodiless celestial now? Yang Jinxing's heart trembled. Although he knew there were still many bodiless celestials in the human devil clan, he did not know how many there were. The only bodiless celestials in the human devil clan he knew were his master, Liao Naijiang, and the forefather of the human devil clan. The reason he knew about the forefather of the human devil clan was because after he had become the patriarch of the human devil clan, he had learned about the existence of the forefather of the human devil clan from the previous patriarch of the human devil clan. He had also learned how to contact the forefather of the human devil clan. It was precisely because of this that he had appeared here. As for the other bodiless celestials in the human devil clan, he did not know how many of them there were, nor did he know who they were. However, when he saw the old man standing in front of him, he realized that Yang Jinxing was a bodiless celestial. Among the bodiless celestials in the human devil clan, one of them was his martial granduncle Yang Xiong-jun, so you're Yang Jinxing, that child's direct disciple. Upon hearing Yang Jinxing's self-introduction, the cold expression on the face of the muscular old man, Yang Xiong-jun, faded. It was replaced with a smile. I've heard of you. You're currently the patriarch of our human devil clan. Greetings, martial granduncle. At this time, Yang Jinxing also formally bowed to Yang Xiong-jun. But, why did you come here personally to look for the ancestor? But what happened to the clan? Even if something happened to the clan, it should be your master coming here to look for the old ancestor. Yang Xiong-jun asked with a frown. Before today, Yang Jinxing did not know Yang Xiong-jun was still alive. However, Yang Xiong-jun knew Yang Jinxing was the current patriarch of the human devil clan. Apart from Yang Jinxing, Yang Jinxing's master, Liao Naijiang, who was a three-tribulation bodiless celestial, was also in charge of the human devil clan. In his opinion, even if something really happened to the human devil clan, it should be Liao Naijiang who came to look for the ancestor of the human devil clan, not Yang Jinxing. Because of this, Yang Xiong-jun had an ominous premonition in his heart. Martial granduncle master has already passed away. As soon as Yang Xiong-jun finished speaking, Yang Jinxing muttered with a sorrowful expression on his face. His voice was filled with sorrow, causing the atmosphere in the surroundings to become heavy. What? Naijiang is dead. After the ominous premonition in his heart was confirmed, Yang Xiong-jun's face suddenly changed. He stared at Yang Jinxing and asked in a deep voice, Who killed Naijiang? Was it a bodiless celestial from the Lion Devil clan or the Tiger Devil clan? Or was it a bodiless celestial from the Ox Devil clan? Yang Xiong-jun's expression darkened as he asked these questions. The devil clans he mentioned were the strongest devil clans in the devil clans. Apart from the three devil clans, the human devil clan was also one of the strongest devil clans in the devil clans. In Yang Xiong-jun's opinion, the human devil clans were extremely strong. In the entire exiled realm, only the bodiless celestials from the three devil clans would have the courage to kill a bodiless celestial from the human devil clan. None of them? Yang Jinxing shook his head bitterly. Before he could finish, Yang Xiong-jun asked in a cold and hurried tone, Which clan of itinerant immortals did it? I'd like to know. Apart from the Lion Devil clan, the Tiger Devil clan, and the Ox Devil clan, which other devil clans would dare to provoke the human devil clan? As he spoke, Yang Xiong-jun's tone became colder and colder, giving people a feeling as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. Master. He wasn't killed by a bodiless celestial from the devil clans. Yang Xiong-jun was taken aback by Yang Jinxing's reply. He wasn't killed by a bodiless celestial from the devil clans? Who killed him? Martial granduncle, the human devil clan has left the exiled realm with the devil clans and invaded the Saint Province realm. Moreover, we've occupied the Debussy subterranean realm. Yang Jinxing realized Yang Jinxing was unaware of this. Yang Xiong-jun was most likely unaware that the devil clans had invaded the Saint Province realm a few years ago. For this reason, Yang Xiongjuan patiently explained how the Human Devil clan had invaded the Debussyi subterranean realm and occupied the Azure Cloud Mansion's territory. He went on to talk about recent events. He told Yang Xiongjuan about how Duan Lingtian, the young mansion master of Azure Cloud Mansion, had snuck into the Wandering Saint Palace and faced the Celestial Ascension Tribulation with the Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace. He used someone else's Celestial Ascension Tribulation to attract the Celestial Ascension Tribulation. Moreover, he succeeded. Because there had never been such a precedent in the history of the demon race, even Yang Xiongjuan couldn't help but be dumbfounded when he heard about this. However, he was even more confused when he heard what happened next. Duan Lingtian, the young mansion master of Azure Cloud Mansion, cast an assist-type divine ability after he became an eminent celestial. That assist-type divine ability boosted his strength to a ridiculous level. At this point, Yang Jinxing couldn't help but shudder in his heart. If he had not crushed the fiery blood evasion talisman in time, he would have been killed by Duan Lingtian. After all, even his master, Liao Naijiang, a three-tribulation bodiless celestial, could not withstand a single blow from Duan Lingtian before he was killed by Duan Lingtian. Naijiang was killed by him in just a single blow? The sword strike he used to kill Naijiang not only tore the void apart, but it even left behind a tear in the void that took about 30 minutes to completely heal? Yang Xiongjuan was dumbfounded when he learned about this from Yang Jinxing. This is impossible. Yang Xiongjuan shook his head as he looked at Yang Jinxing. His rationality told him that it was impossible. It was impossible for someone who had just become an eminent celestial to possess such strength. How could someone tear the void apart and leave a tear in the void that would take 30 minutes to heal? Even he did not possess such a technique. Even if he used all his strength to tear the void apart, it would only take a few moments for the tear to heal. Only a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial or stronger would be able to tear the void apart and leave a tear in the void that would take 15 minutes to heal. I'm afraid only a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial or stronger would be able to tear the void apart and leave a tear in the void that would take 30 minutes to heal. For this reason, Yang Xiongjuan did not think Duan Lingtian was an eminent celestial. How could someone who had just become an eminent celestial possess strength comparable to a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial? Chapter 2339. Impossible? Yang Zhenxing smiled wryly when he heard Yang Xiongjuan's words. He was not surprised by Yang Xiongjuan's disbelief. If he were in Yang Xiongjuan's shoes, he would not believe this as well. How could someone who had just become an eminent celestial possess strength comparable to a 5 or 6 tribulation bodiless celestial? It was as though Yang Zhenxing was talking about a heavenly book. Senior Granduncle, when my master was killed by Duan Lingtian, many people from the Human Devil clan's 3 palaces and 6 halls were present. If you don't believe me, you can ask them for confirmation. After taking a deep breath, Yang Zhenxing looked at Yang Xiongjuan solemnly and said, "To be honest, I still find it hard to believe even until now. Even if Duan Lingtian's assist-type divine ability is from a Devata realm, it shouldn't be that heaven-defying, right?" As he spoke, Yang Zhenxing couldn't help but shake his head. However, Yang Zhenxing was unaware of this. The reason Duan Lingtian was so strong was not only because of his assist-type divine ability, but also because of the Supreme Sword Dao Mental Cultivation method, the Sovereign Heart Sword. Currently, after Duan Lingtian cast the assist-type divine ability, the Elementary Devouring Tactic, his strength was comparable to a 4-tribulation bodiless celestial. With the 3rd stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the Sword-Wielding Tactic, his strength was comparable to a 5-tribulation bodiless celestial. Moreover, with the 4th stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the Body and Sword Fusion, his strength was comparable to a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial. Is what you said true? Although Yang Xiongjuan was slightly shaken, he still found it hard to believe. How could a mere eminent celestial possess strength comparable to a 6-tribulation bodiless celestial? However, after Yang Zhenxing's repeated affirmation and even swearing on the lightning penalty oath, Yang Xiongjuan had no choice but to believe it. The assist-type divine ability he cast is most likely a top-tier divine ability even in the Devata realms. Yang Xiongjuan sucked in a breath of cold air and guessed. It's a top-tier divine ability even in the Devata realms? Yang Zhenxing was dumbfounded. However, he also felt that this was the only way to explain why Duan Lingtian's assist-type divine ability could give him such an exaggerated increase in strength. He's just a human brat. How could he be lucky enough to obtain such a powerful assist-type divine ability? In the end, both Yang Xiongjuan and Yang Zhenxing were envious of Duan Lingtian's assist-type divine ability, the Elementary Devouring Tactic. Of course, They did not know that the assist-type divine ability Duan Lingtian had mastered was called the elementary devouring tactic. Senior Granduncle, since you've confirmed Duan Lingtian's strength is comparable to a sixth tribulation bodiless celestial, shouldn't you bring me to see the ancestor now? Yang Jinxing looked at Yang Xiongjuan solemnly and said, after all, this matter concerns the survival of our human devil clan. If we delay any longer, who knows if the Duan Lingtian will turn our territory upside down. Come with me. Yang Xiongjuan's expression stiffened when he heard Yang Jinxing's words. He beckoned to Yang Jinxing before he turned around and left. Yang Jinxing followed closely behind him. After a while, Yang Jinxing arrived at the altar with Yang Xiongjuan. Behind the altar, there was a combined concealment array formation. Under the array formation there was a completely different world. A stone staircase led to the underground. The entire way was brightly lit as if it was daytime. The bodiless celestials in our human devil clan usually cultivate here. Follow me and try not to disturb them. Yang Xiongjuan did not forget to remind Yang Jinxing through voice transmission as they walked down the stone staircase. All right. Yang Jinxing nodded. However, he could not help but feel puzzled. I wonder how many bodiless celestials there are in the human devil clan? Senior Granduncle. Yang Jinxing could not help but ask Yang Xiongjuan. The human devil clan has always had a rule. Apart from the bodiless celestials in our human devil clan, no one is allowed to know about this. Otherwise, why didn't your master tell you that I'm still alive and have become a bodiless celestial? Yang Xiongjuan said. Upon hearing this, Yang Jinxing finally learned that this was a taboo in the human devil clan. He did not probe further. After walking all the way down the stone stairs, Yang Jinxing learned that, as it turned out, there was a vast underground palace hidden under the altar 10,000 kilometers north of the human devil clan's base in the exiled plane. As for the bodiless celestials of the human devil clan, they usually lived in seclusion and focused on cultivating while waiting for the arrival of the bodiless celestial tribulation that occurred once every 1,000 years. Ancestor. Soon, Yang Xiongjuan led Yang Jinxing to a spacious mansion in the underground palace and bowed respectfully. Ancestor. Yang Jinxing followed suit and bowed respectfully. The ancestor of the human devil clan usually cultivated in this mansion. At the same time, Yang Jinxing thought to himself, I'm certain the old ancestor is at least a 7 tribulation bodiless celestial. However, I wonder if the old ancestor is an 8 tribulation bodiless celestial? Although there was only a difference of 1 level between a 7th tribulation bodiless celestial and an 8th tribulation bodiless celestial. However, Yang Jinxing knew this was not the case. The difference between the two of them was like heaven and earth. Although he was not a bodiless celestial, he had heard about the difference in cultivation bases between bodiless celestials. The higher a bodiless celestial's cultivation base was, the more heaven-defying it would be. This was especially true for 7 tribulation bodiless celestials and above. The difference in cultivation bases between 7 tribulation bodiless celestials was like heaven and earth. Yang Xiongjuan and Yang Jinxing bowed respectfully, but there was no response from the mansion in front of them. In the beginning, both of them waited patiently for a response. However, after a while there was still no response. Both of them could not help but look at each other in confusion. Xiongjuan boy? Are you looking for the old ancestor? At this moment, an indifferent voice rang from afar. Before the voice faded away, Yang Xiongjuan and Yang Jinxing felt as if someone was whispering into their ears. Whoosh. A humanoid figure appeared in front of Yang Jinxing in just a blink of an eye before it turned corporeal. In the end, it turned into a skinny young man who looked as though he would be blown away by the wind. This person called Senior Granduncle Boy? Yang Jinxing shuddered when he recalled how this person had addressed his senior granduncle. He did not dare to underestimate this skinny young man just because of his ordinary appearance. Senior Granduncle. What Yang Xiongjuan called the skinny young man next almost scared Yang Jinxing out of his wits. His senior granduncle had addressed this young man as Senior Granduncle? Did this mean this young man's seniority was 4 generations higher than his? Who is he? Soon after, the young man's eyes landed on Yang Jinxing as he scrutinized him. Yang Jinxing felt as though he had nowhere to hide when faced with the young man's gaze. It was as though there were no secrets in front of the young man. Greetings, Senior. Yang Jinxing. When Yang Jinxing thought about the young man's seniority, he was so frightened that his body trembled slightly. He wanted to greet the young man, but he quickly realized he did not know how to address the young man. The young man was his senior granduncle's senior granduncle. How should he address the young man? Senior Granduncle, he's the disciple of my junior nephew, Liao Nai Jiang. He's also the current patriarch of the Human Devil clan. Yang Xiongjuan replied to the young man in a timely manner. So you're the current patriarch of the Human Devil clan, Yang Jinxing. I've heard of you. The young man nodded. He could tell Yang Jinxing was at a loss, so he said indifferently, my surname is Xia. You can call me Senior Xia. Greetings, Senior Xia. Yang Jinxing sighed in relief when he heard the young man's words. He quickly bowed respectfully at the young man. Senior Granduncle is one of the only 2 Six Tribulation bodiless celestials in the Human Devil clan. Yang Xiongjuan reminded Yang Jinxing through voice transmission. 6 Tribulation bodiless celestial? Hearing Yang Xiongjuan's words, Yang Jinxing was shocked and couldn't recover for a long time. Why's he here? The young man asked with a slight frown on his face as he looked at Yang Xiongjuan. After all, this was a place where the bodiless celestials in the Human Devil clan cultivated. Apart from bodiless celestials in the Human Devil clan, they were not allowed to enter. Even the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was not an exception. The patriarch of the Human Devil clan held a lofty position in the eyes of ordinary human devils. However, in the eyes of the bodiless celestials in the Human Devil clan, the patriarch of the Human Devil clan was just an insignificant junior. Senior Granduncle, it's like this? Yang Xiongjuan did not dare to dawdle when he saw the displeasure on his senior granduncle's face. He quickly recounted everything that had happened. Finally, he looked at Yang Jinxing and added, in order to prove what he said is true, he swore on the lightning penalty oath. Currently, Duan Lingtian was unaware that Duan Lingtian's actions had caused a commotion in the Wandering Saint Palace. Duan Lingtian's actions in the Wandering Saint Palace had alerted many bodiless celestials in the Human Devil clan. However, now that Duan Lingtian had returned to the upper province, he was completely dumbfounded when he heard about this matter. The successor of the Fog Rain progeny. The successor of the first absolute of the 7 absolute sect? Senior Feng Qingyang is the successor of the Fog Rain progeny, the first absolute of the 7 absolute sect? Duan Lingtian could still remember. Chapter 2340. When Duan Lingtian received the inheritance of the Supreme Sword Dao Mental Cultivation Method, Sovereign Heart Sword, left behind by Sword Saint Feng Qingyang, he became Feng Qingyang's successor. At the same time, he succeeded Feng Qingyang and became the new successor of the Misty Rain sect. In the past, although Duan Lingtian knew he had become the successor of the Misty Rain progeny, he had no idea what the title meant. Now that he had come to the upper province and heard about the 7 absolute sect and the rumors about the 7 absolute sect, he had just learned that, as it turned out, the successor of the Misty Rain wasn't an ordinary title. It was both a supreme honor and a heavy responsibility. The Misty Rain lineage was the first absolute of the 7 absolute sect. The successor of the Misty Rain sect in each generation was the sect leader of the 7 absolute sect. As long as the successor of the Misty Rain sect did not appear, the 7 absolute sect would not have a sect master. This was the iron law of the 7 absolute sect. I didn't expect. After learning about the 7 absolute sect and the successor of the Fog Rain sect, Duan Lingtian could not help but shake his head. His face was filled with shock and he was still in a daze. Previously, when he was still in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land and had yet to be sent back to the lower province, he had only heard rumors about the Sword Saint Feng Qingyang. However, he had never heard of the 7 absolute sect before. Only now did he know. As it turned out, there was such an ancient sect in the Dao Martial Saint Land. Moreover, this sect had once suppressed Zoroastrianism, Zhuangzi Buddhism, and the Heaven Divination sect until they could not even lift their heads. The 7 absolute sect was so powerful during Senior Feng Qingyang's era. Although Duan Lingtian had yet to regain his senses, he could not help but feel his blood boiling when he learned about the 7 absolute sect's past. It was as if he had completely immersed himself in the glorious days of the 7 invincible sect. That era was not only the era of the Sword Saint Feng Qingyang, but it was also the era of the 7 absolute sect. I remember that when I was still in Windfall Nation in the lower province, I heard the sect leader of Drift Blaze sect, who's also Tian Wu's master, mention the 7 absolute sect. However, at that time I've never heard of the 7 absolute sect. She must have seen the 10,000 Swords territory and thought of the first absolute of the 7 absolute sect, the Fog Rain successor. After all, my myriad sword domain came from the successor of the Misty Rain sect, Senior Feng Qingyang. Now that he recalled some of the past, Duan Lingtian also came to a realization. It seems like the sect leader of Windfall Nation's Drift Blaze sect should be a member of the 7 absolute sect as well. Moreover, it's very likely that she's the previous successor of the Blazing Phoenix progeny, the fifth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. After all, her direct disciple, Tianwu, is the current successor of the Blazing Phoenix progeny, the fifth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. When Duanling Tian returned to the Upper Province and heard the news of the Seven Absolute sect's reappearance, he learned about the achievements of the current successors of the Seven Absolute sect in the Upper Province. This included the achievements of Feng Tianwu, his soulmate whom he had been dreaming of. Feng Tianwu, the current successor of the Blazing Phoenix progeny, the fifth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect, had killed the White Tiger King from Zhuangzi Buddhism. She was ranked 11th on the Supreme Saint ranking. The White Tiger King was at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Since Tianwu was able to kill him a few years ago, this means she was already stronger than an ordinary powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. I can't believe Tianwu obtained such a great fortuitous encounter and became so powerful after coming to the Upper Province. All this while, Duanling Tian had been searching for Feng Tianwu. During the process of searching for Feng Tianwu, he was extremely worried about Feng Tianwu's safety, and he was deeply afraid that something had happened to Feng Tianwu. If something happened to Feng Tianwu, not only would he not be able to accept it, but he would also not be able to explain himself to his uncle, Feng Wudao. When Duanling Tian learned about Feng Tianwu, he could not help but sigh in relief. At the very least he was certain Tianwu was safe. When Duanling Tian heaved a sigh of relief, he felt happy for her from the bottom of his heart when he thought about her current achievements. I didn't expect Tianwu to be a member of the Seven Absolute sect just like me. At the same time, Duanling Tian, who found out he was the successor of the Seven Absolute sect's first absolute, the Fog Rain progeny, sighed emotionally when he thought about how he and Tianwu had unknowingly become disciples of the Seven Absolute sect. Of course, after this exclamation, Duanling Tian sighed again. Also, I didn't expect Xuan'ai to become a member of the Seven Absolute sect. The Xuan'ai that Duanling Tian was referring to was naturally Han Xuan'ai, the eldest miss of the Debussyi subterranean Greenwave Han mansion. She was also someone Duanling Tian had known since a long time ago, and had always regarded her as his own little sister. Duanling Tian had already found out about Xuan'ai leaving the Greenwave Han mansion when he was still in the lower province. However, he had never expected that. He did not expect Xuan'ai to achieve so much in the upper province after leaving the Greenwave Han mansion. Han Xuan'ai, the successor of the Red Dust progeny, the seventh absolute of the Seven Absolute sect, killed sect leader Su of Zhuangzi Buddhism the moment she was born and was ranked in the top 20 of the Supreme Saint ranking. This was the news that Duanling Tian had heard. Sect leader Su of Zhuangzi Buddhism was at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage. After so many years, Xuan'ai is already strong enough to kill him. Duanling Tian was shocked. At this moment, Duanling Tian could not help but recall the time when he first met Han Xuan'ai. The young girl from back then had unknowingly grown to such a shocking level. Duanling Tian felt happy for Han Xuan'ai from the bottom of his heart. Then he sighed emotionally. There are only 7 absolutes in the Seven Absolute sect. Currently, apart from myself, the people I know, including myself, are 6 of the 7 absolutes. Isn't this a little too exaggerated? Why do I feel like all of this was deliberately arranged by someone? Duanling Tian could not help but think this way. Apart from the mysterious successor of the prophet progeny who was a heaven-defying Dao cultivator, Duanling Tian knew the other 5 absolutes in the Seven Absolute sect. Feng Tianwu and Han Xuan'ai. They were the successors of the Blazing Phoenix progeny and the Red Dust progeny, the 5th absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. Gu Li, the successor of the Kratos progeny, the 3rd absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. Yu Wuing, the successor of the Dark Shadow progeny, the 4th absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. Nangong Qin and Nangong Yi, the successors of the Didymus progeny, the 6th absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. Apart from Feng Tianwu and Han Xuan'ai, Duanling Tian also knew Gu Li, Yu Wuing, Nangong Qin, and Nangong Yi. I can't believe senior brother Gu Li is also a member of the Seven Absolute sect, the successor of the 3rd absolute, the Kratos progeny. It seems like the matter he said he was going to do after leaving Zoroastrianism has something to do with the Seven Absolute sect. Naturally, Duanling Tian was no stranger to Gu Li. He was a friend he had made in the Debussyi subterranean. Later on, they came to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land and joined one of the 3 great sects of the Dao Martial Saint Land, the Zoroastrianism. However, Gu Li had left Zoroastrianism a few years ago. According to what he said in the past, he had a very important matter to attend to. It was not difficult for Duanling Tian to figure out Gu Li's current identity. The matter Guli was going to do after leaving Zoroastrianism was most likely related to the Seven Absolute sect or the Kratos progeny, the third absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. Senior brother Guli's current strength is not bad. His current cultivation base should be at the seventh form of the Saint Celestial stage or above. Currently, Guli was not as famous as Feng Tianwu and Han Xuanai in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. However, as the successor of the Kratos progeny, the third absolute of the Seven Absolute sect, he had attracted the attention of many people in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land after a few battles. For this reason, Duan Lingtian learned about the Seven Absolute sect when he returned to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. The current successor of the Kratos progeny, the third absolute of the Seven Absolute sect, was none other than Guli. And Yu Wuing. Isn't he father's subordinate? How did he suddenly become the successor of the Dark Shadow progeny, the fourth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect? Duan Lingtian was confused when he found out Yu Wuing was the successor of the Dark Shadow progeny, the fourth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. Although he did not have much contact with Yu Wuing, he had heard of him before. He knew Yu Wuing was a capable person by his father's side. In fact, when he was in the Azure Cloud Mansion, many people said Yu Wuing was like his father, Duan Rufing's shadow. Don't tell me Yu Wuing is someone else? Is he not father's subordinate? Duan Lingtian muttered to himself with a frown on his face. No. How can there be such a coincidence in this world? Father's subordinate, Yu Wuing, is skilled in the Tao of assassination, and the successor of the Dark Shadow progeny, the fourth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect, is also skilled in the Tao of assassination. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? Yu Wuing, the successor of the Dark Shadow progeny, the fourth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. A few years ago, he successfully assassinated a high priest at the seventh form of the Saint Celestial stage from the Heaven Divination sect. Duan Lingtian learned about this when he heard about it. Yu Wuing, the successor of the Dark Shadow progeny, the fourth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect, was skilled in the Tao of assassination just like his father, Duan Rufing. For this reason, Duan Lingtian suspected they were the same person. The brothers, Nangong Chen and Nangong Yi in particular, have also become members of the Seven Absolute sect. They should be in the Azure Cloud Mansion with Uncle Feng and the others. How did they end up in the upper province? Moreover, they're the successors of the Didymus progeny, the sixth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.